Welcome back. Good to have you. And welcome back to all of you on the live stream. How we doing? We're back. Good stuff. Yes! Yes! During the last commercial break, not during the top of the hour, but the last commercial break, I got a knock at the door. And sure enough, it was FedEx. I'm really sorry we didn't get here by 8 a.m. That's okay. That's okay. You got us back. We have new equipment. We've got new cords. It was like a scramble during the top of the hour, but got it going. So we're back. Good stuff. Good stuff. And hopefully you hear us okay. It looks like audio is good. So I'm excited. Let's do this. Our buddy Mark Schofield, SB Nation, joining us, and always good to get him on the air with us. Mark, how you doing, pal?
I'm doing well, Bill. How are you? I guess you got some new stuff delivered. Excited for that?
Yeah, you know what? Here's the thing, is when you do the show in a studio you had built in your house, it's not like, you know how it is when you have engineers down the hall and you have this parts room that you can just go scour from. And
right.
You don't have that. You have your equipment, and when it goes bad, you scramble. So it went bad on Monday morning, and in a couple of days we had all new equipment delivered just a minute ago, and it was just popping out old cords, putting in new ones, and here we go. So we're off and running. I'm loving life.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah. Hey, let's first and foremost talk about the Packers and the fact that they get a win. They rally to get a win. They knock off the Bears. There's a level of pride to that, and I understand all of that, but they also kept playoff hopes alive. But you tell me what you see with this team that would make us in any way, shape, or form believers.
Well, I mean, I think if you want to take a look at the glass half full, rose-colored glasses approach, you can take a step back and look at the NFC at large and say if they somehow manage to get in, they got a puncher's chance. You know, I was actually just having this conversation earlier this morning. I was on a Cowboys show. We sort of took stock of the NFC writ large. And yes, Philadelphia, they certainly look the part. Yes, Dallas, they look the part as well. Those might be perhaps the two most complete teams in the NFC right now. But you step back and look at the NFC writ large, and it's really a lot of question marks. And I know you and I have talked a lot about, the Minnesota Vikings this year, whether the Vikings are good or not, whether we believe or not. And I still have reservations. I know they can lock down the division this week, but I still have reservations given how they play. The teams in the South, yes, somebody's going to win that division, but the only team I sort of trust is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in 2-minute mode, because you look at their recent wins, the Rams, Monday night against the Saints, 57 minutes of those games, that offense can't do anything. It's only when they sort of go into hurry-up mode and Tom Brady is running things that offense looks competent. This is the West. Seattle, you've got questions about Geno Smith. He's had a fantastic year, certainly put himself into the long-term situation there, but they seem to have some issues sometimes on the defensive side of the ball. Sometimes they have issues, putting up the points that they need. Do you trust Geno Smith in a playoff game? So there are questions there. San Francisco looks like a complete team, but now they're looking at Brock Purdy down the stretch here, and they won't get Garoppolo back until potentially an NFC Championship game. And so, a glimmer of hope could be found there in that, hey, you look at the Packers right now, and yes, the record is what it is. And, it's not the season that we expected. They're not the complete team we expected. They're not as good defensively as we thought they were going to be. But all of the teams in the NFC, Bill, have huge questions, except for maybe Dallas and Philadelphia. And even they might have some questions. You look at, what we've seen the past couple of weeks in the passing game and finally being able to create some explosive plays and finally being able to do some things offensively that could get you a couple of wins. And so I think the glimmer of hope, the glass half full approach is, hey, if they get in, they got a shot. But the bigger question is, can they manage to get in? Because the odds are against it.
So, okay, let's start off with their next foe, which is the Rams. The Rams pick up Baker Mayfield. Is Baker Mayfield any kind of a threat at this point, or is he just a guy trying to hang on to a job?
No, I mean, he's just a guy trying to hang on to a job. And the Rams are in a situation where, the Stafford injury, now we're hearing this week, sort of a bruised spinal column. He's had a concussion earlier this year. You wonder how much longer Stafford's going to play. I mean, does Stafford come back next year? There were sort of rumblings about the Rams after winning their Super Bowl, guys like Donald kicking around the retirement idea. Even Sean McVay was kicking around the retirement idea. is this a situation where they're just going to tear that thing down? And we know they sort of mortgaged the future, mortgaged draft picks and things like that to get that Super Bowl. When credit to them, they pulled it off. But when you look at what's happening now, it might be a situation where if, Stafford retires, it's an opportunity to take a look at Baker Mayfield, but I don't think there's any sort of threat. He might start this Thursday night. They were like sending him the playbook so we can read it on the flight. But we've seen what Baker Mayfield is over the past couple of weeks of this season. He lost his job in Carolina. He lost his job in Cleveland. Like you said, I think he's just a guy sort of trying to hang on to a job. And so the Rams' big picture, they're not going anywhere right now. And so with Green Bay having this bye, and you look ahead to the Rams game, it's hard to think that game is going to be a real problem.
I wanted to ask you also about, now we're talking here about Jim Leonard, the defensive coordinator, former interim head coach of the Wisconsin Badgers, announced that he's going to be leaving Wisconsin. He originally interviewed for the job and was offered the job in Green Bay before they had decided on Joe Barry. There's been a lot of consternation about this Packers defense being good last year and then this year not good. So my question is give me your thoughts on a defensive coordinator who played in the NFL and understands the NFL, jumping as a defensive coordinator from the college ranks to the professional ranks to the likelihood of success.
Everybody that I talk to, I have a lot of friends, Bill, that are coaches on the defensive side of the ball at the college and high school level who I talk with all the time. And the name that they bring up, the person that they bring up, the person that they want to study, that they want to sit down and talk with is Jim Leonard. That's the name I heard over and over and over again over the past couple of years. The respect that, coaches at the high school and lower college level have for what he does on the defensive side of the ball. Everybody tells you, look, if you want to read a defensive playbook right now, read his, because it's fantastic. His approach to defensive football, his approach to what offenses are trying to do, and his understanding of what offenses are trying to do, both in the pass and the run game, and how to best combat those is, sort of early Saban. That's the phrase that I hear a lot. It's, this is like hearing Nick Saban back when he was at Michigan State. And so I think with the way this game is trending, with the way that we're seeing schemes on both sides of the ball work their way up from the college and even high school ranks to the NFL, he would be a huge home run hire in my mind. You look at what he does conceptually on defense. You look at the ways he uses split safety coverages, which we know are sort of all the rage right now. The way he can sort of dial up pressure and simulated pressure and to create opportunities to get free runners at the quarterback. What he does on the defensive side of the ball, I think, is an ideal fit for today's NFL, especially if you, and I've seen Packers fans talk about this, have frustration with sort of static, basic, conservative type defensive play calls. If you want more forward thinking, if you want more of a sort of modern approach to defensive football, Jim Leonard is your guy. And so I think it would be a home run hire in my mind.
Let's move around the rest of the NFL. I want to talk about you talk about the Cowboys, and I know that there's some questions about OBJ. They kind of hesitated on bringing him in because they're not quite sure that knee is ready to go as of yet. Give me your thoughts if they get him, and if they don't get him, are they a true contender for a Super Bowl? Because I still think their biggest Achilles heel, while their proponent is Dak Prescott, I think their Achilles heel is Dak Prescott.
Yeah, I mean, they're an interesting team in that they're not getting a ton of production from the wide receiver position. I mean, you look at whether it's just pure receptions or, certain points added per reception by wide receivers. They're like in the 20th to the 25th rank in the NFL in most of those receiver categories. They need help at the receiver position. It's something that people thought was going to be a problem for them even before they traded away Amari Cooper. And so would Odell help? Yes, if he's healthy, because frankly, it's not great right now at the wide receiver position. CeeDee Lamb is a very nice talent, but the production just hasn't been there. The production in the past game has really sort of run through the tight end group. They're eighth in the NFL in receptions from tight ends, league-wide. The running back room, Tony Pollard, they've got some, production out of the running back room in the passing game, but the receiving component to their pass game is lacking right now. So Odell, if he's healthy, would certainly help. The Prescott situation is interesting because there are things that he does extremely well: pre-snap identification of coverage and potential blitzes, moves well. He had the touchdown against the Colts, rolling out to his right, making a throw on the move to Gallup. So there are things that he does well, but, a lot of people share your concern that, yes, he's a very good quarterback, but you need, an elite type of quarterback to win games down the stretch, to win playoff games. And there are some that believe that, look, he's not that kind of guy. And that could be the thing that holds them back. They run the ball extremely well, one of the best run games in the entire NFL. They're one of the best defenses in the entire NFL. And so they might be built to make a run in this year's NFL because they can keep scoring down, they can get pressure with 4, and it won't be a situation where Prescott has to win them the game. But if they get into a playoff game where Prescott has to win it with his arm, there might be a problem.
Talking with Mark Schofield, SB Nation, joining us on the hotline. Go to the rest of the teams in the NFC. We talked a little bit about the Cowboys. You've got San Francisco, one of the best defenses, but now they've got a question mark at quarterback. Philadelphia, they seem to at least solidify their run defense, which was really, I guess, their Achilles heel. And then this past week, Derrick Henry only gets 30 yards. You still have some powerhouses in the NFC. AFC-wise, your offensive leaders are Kansas City, Buffalo, Cincinnati's near the top, Miami's near the top. Give me some of the thoughts on some of these teams as we start to head down the stretch and they really start to jockey for position when it comes to playoff opportunities.
Yeah, I mean, I think in the NFC, you look at the Eagles. What I like about the Eagles is they've shown over the past couple of weeks that they can win different ways, right? It was a couple of weeks ago, the Packers, they ran the ball, right? Packers are struggling to stop the run. They ran the ball extremely well, had a fantastic game on the ground. Then you go a following week, you go up against Tennessee, a defense which has stopped the run pretty well, but it's had some struggle stop in the past, and they threw it really well. And so I always like when a team shows you that they've got multiple ways to win a game. As you said, they sort of solidified that run defense perhaps to get Jordan Davis back, which I think is going to be huge. And so I think the Eagles are one of the good teams in the NFC. To make Minnesota, again, we sort of pulled our hair out with the Vikings this year because when we break, then they get blown out by Dallas, and they come back and they look good again. They've got 2 straight wins against AFC East teams. I'm still sort of in that wait and see mode, and I know that's strange to say here, early in December on a team, but I just can't really talk myself into the Vikings. Flipping to the AFC side, Buffalo, they're back atop the AFC East thanks to what happened this week in Kansas City. Yes, they just lost to Cincinnati, but I think they're still a very good team on both sides of the ball. You still have Patrick Mahomes. Kelsey doesn't have that fumble. They're probably in a position to put that game away. I think you do have to give some credit to Cincinnati, the way they've turned things around. I went back and looked at their offense this week, and you remember all the hand-running about, they can't figure out 2 deep coverages. They can't figure out what they're doing on offense. Since then, say week 5, after their first 5 games, they started 2-3. They've been one of the best teams against too high. Burrow's been one of the best quarterbacks against too high. You saw that again on Sunday. Kansas City threw, I think it was he had 6 passing attempts against too high coverages. He was 6 for 6 on those. And so they've figured that piece out. So I think the Bengals are certainly a team to watch. The Ravens are interested because, both those teams are 8-4, but now you've got a Lamar injury week to week with a PCL sprain. So that's going to be something to watch. And so, I think the AFC may have shifted a little bit, whereas, a couple of weeks ago you had the Dolphins in the mix. Now maybe Buffalo has sort of figured some things out. But, we've still got a lot of football left to be played. And it's still hard to say that, yes, this is by and large the best team in the league, whether it's the AFC or the NFC.
Talking with Mark Schofield, SB Nation, joining us on the highline. You can find him on Twitter at Mark Schofield. Before I let you go, I want to go back to the Packers. A lot of talk about next year setting things up, whether or not Rodgers would or would not acquiesce to having Jordan Love plays, open to conversations and this and that. The Packers know what they have in Jordan Love behind closed doors. I think they really believe that. I think it was a really good comment by Brian Gutekunst the other day who said, we know what he can do. We just need to see if he can win. And there's a big difference because we've seen a lot of quarterbacks that can really decipher defenses and play well, but can they win in big moments? Do you need to see Jordan Love play a full game or 2 with, full prep time and such to say whether or not you would extend him and you would say, yeah, this is the guy, or for other teams to see him and go, hey, we'd like to trade for that guy? Do you have to see him, or do you just go, everybody, well, I shouldn't say everybody, but there's some people that believed in him, including the Packers, that thought he was pretty good. He's had 4 years in the system behind Aaron Rodgers. He's worth a gamble. Do you have to see him play, or do you just take it on blind faith?
No, I think you kind of have to see it. And I think the comments, you know what he can do, but you don't know if he can win. It speaks to everything that goes into playing the quarterback position. It's not just a snap to whistle. It's a position where what you do during the week matters. how you prepare for an NFL start matters, how you absorb the game plan, the scripted 15, and you're ready to go once that ball is put into play for the first time. All of that stuff matters. And so, if you're the Packers, you want to see what he looks like, going into a start of a game, then going into a second one, maybe the last 2 games of the season, depending on how things shake out over the next couple of weeks. If you're another NFL team, you want to see that too. Because, yes, you've got advanced scouts. You've seen them. You probably scouted them for the draft, so you know what the traits are, but you want to see them in action over the course of an actual week of build-up for a game and then perhaps a second week of build-up for a game. And so I think both for the Packers themselves and for other teams that might be interested in acquiring him, you'd like to see him get some starts before this year's over.
Good stuff as always, Mark. I certainly appreciate it, and we'll talk again next week, man, okay?
Sounds great, Bill. Thanks so much. Have a fantastic week.
Absolutely. You too. There you go. That's our buddy Mark Schofield from SB Nation joining us for a couple of minutes on the highlight. This portion of the program brought to you by our friends at Curly's Waterfront Pub and Grill. They got a lot going on. They have got specialty drinks for the season. They got sports on the tubes. They got music and karaoke and all that kind of stuff going on. They've got the meat raffles, charity events, and the home of the pig porkers. So check out Ryan and the staff over there. They're always doing something really cool. Check out our friends at Curly's Waterfront Pub and Grill right there on Pewaukee Lake. Always good stuff going on over there. Always something happening. They're always fun people. Good people over there. Stay tuned. We got a whole lot more of the Bill Michaels Show. It's coming up right after this.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin SportsZone Radio Network.
Ho, 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 I need a window.
Baby, it's cold outside.
So where do I go? Ho, ho.
Come on, Santa. Go to Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin. Now is the time to replace your leaky windows and doors. You and Mrs. Claus can get your new windows while putting no money down, no payments, and no interest for up to 24 months. Unwrap this gift now, but pay for it 2 years later.
More jingle that stays in my pocket.
That's right, Santa. Plus, our elves install year-round and in as little as 1 day. Pella offers lines in luxurious wood to fiberglass and vinyl.
Why not make a New Year's resolution today?
That's the spirit, Santa.
Hella no, pay later. Ho, ho.
Absolutely. Put no money down, no payments, and no interest for up to 24 months. But you have to hurry. Offer ends December 31st. Schedule your free consultation today at PellaWI.com.
Sure, with the lines shown for details.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Tonight, we are going to be at Angry Brothers Pub. We're going to be down in Racine. It's the Bill Michaels Huddle, and it's brought to you by our friends at Bud Light, the official beer sponsor of the Bill Michaels Sports Talk Network. Looking forward to it tonight. Mike Clemens going to be joining me live and in person. So if you're heading out to the Racine area tonight, you're going to be doing a little maybe Christmas shopping, nogging, whatever it happens to be, and you want to come by Angry Brothers Pub, maybe grab yourself a bite to eat, listen to the program. Do it. Come on down tonight. We are looking forward to it. Speaking of grabbing some beverages, nogging it, if you will, check out our friends at ForgottenFireWinery.com. That is ForgottenFireWinery.com, and they have all kinds of good stuff. If you go there and check it out and ask for it by name in your local grocery stores, liquor stores, wine stores, just their ciders are fantastic. I just got to some of the ciders for the party coming up this Saturday. Looking forward to it. I don't have to work on Sunday. I'm not leaving the house. I might do a video. Pay attention. I might be a mess. Ben, you have that to look forward to on Saturday night. Just saying.
Can't wait.
Saying. Yeah, just throwing it out there. Throwing it out there. Could be quite the scene. We have a new bartender this year too. Just found out we got a new bartender coming. So not quite sure what she's capable of, but it's going to be a wild one. So just thought I'd throw it out there. So we will have some Forgotten Fire wine on hand. We got some hot mess of the Pinot Grigio style. We've got some Merlot, which is the award winner. Many different types, but check out our friends at ForgottenFireWinery.com. That's ForgottenFireWinery.com. Good stuff. Rick says, Bill, do you think LaFleur is going to reach out to Leonard to gauge his interest? I don't know if he would do that while Joe Barry is still your guy. I don't, he might, you know what? He might text him and say, hey, sorry things didn't work out, something like that. You could see that, yeah, I think a text of some type may happen, but I don't know necessarily that it's, I don't know. I don't know how to put it. I don't think it's a necessity, but some type of text may go out. Absolutely. Oh, I could foresee that. 877-867-1670. If you want to hit us up, feel free. Give us a shout. Go ahead.
A big roadblock here, in theory, is whether other college programs reach out. Because the NFL season obviously goes until January or February or whenever they make a change. Jim Leonard could end up getting a job after the bowl game, or frankly, before the bowl game, if someone reaches out with a head coaching job.
Yeah, that's that I agree with, because there's already people talking about, well, would he go to the Purdue Boilermakers? Would he go to another direction if indeed, that they chose to do that? Who knows? I'm going to assume that there's going to be other programs that are going to reach out and say, hey, we need a defensive coordinator here. Will you come and do this? So we shall see. But put it this way, he's made his money. You always want more money, but he's made his money. It's not like he has to do something. And if he believes that there's an opportunity coming in Green Bay to where he can stay at home, yeah, I could see him saying, you know what, I'm gonna bypass that, because I know the opportunity is going to hit relatively soon in Green Bay. If that's the other thing. If indeed he really wants that job, which is the way many of you put it. Right now, our poll question, do you want to see Jim Leonard become the next defensive coordinator of the Green Bay Packers? 74.3% of you say yes, and we have 350 votes in less than an hour. 25.7% of you say no, I don't want to see Jim Leonard. Mickey says, I don't know anything about him. Is he a disputer? Does he believe in actively getting after the opposition's quarterback? Do his defensive backs press? It's about pressuring the opponent, aggressively disrupting your opponent, the opposite of Joe Barry. This one's from the Bro Show. Hits me up on Twitter, says, hell yes, I do. Wayne says, ignore everything about his Wisconsin ties. The guy has Ravens pedigree. This is true. Good point. Then I've got Justin who says, Bill, if you or I became the defensive coordinator of the Green Bay Packers, it would be better than Joe Barry. And Bernard says, hey, let me say this, and I cannot reiterate this enough. Could it be any worse than Joe Barry? And he's more relatable from a player standpoint, having once been in the trenches himself. If he could do half of what DeMeco Ryans doing with the 49ers, sign me up. I'll take him. Hell yes. This one's from Prudence, who says, yes, my God, yes. Anything's better than Joe Barry, yes. And Michael M. says, my dog is a better defensive coordinator than Joe Barry. At least he can sniff the TV and point out the opponent's quarterback. Joe Barry wouldn't know it if it actually came up into the press box and punched him in the face. By the way, Joe Barry's on the sideline, so he sees quarterbacks run past him. And he just yells, get that guy. Not quite sure what he is, but he just yells, get that guy. Just so you know. There you have it. 877-867-1670. Find us. 877-867-1670. Let's go to Nick. Nick, listening to us in Eau Claire. Nick, how you doing today, man? What's up?
Hey, Bill. Good. How are you?
I'm doing well today. What you thinking?
Well, I just want to, I'm from Wisconsin. I'm a big sports and Leonard and all, but I mean, at some point, we as fans got to wake up. We can't build these teams off of feelings. You know, I mean, what has Jim Leonard really done in the 4 or 5 years he's been there? I mean, to me, I think there's better guys out there. Now, I can't say who, but I know, you know, with his experience, I don't know. I think the Packers need to look into somebody that has a little more NFL veteran experience, I would say. But, you know, I love the guy, but, yeah, I mean, we gotta figure something out. Instead of the feelings part, we got to put guys on the field that can produce and play. You know, and you need a coach there that the guys want to play for, which I don't know. I don't know what it's like with Jim Leonard, but, you know, he is a Wisconsin guy. I see that. But as far as, you know, we need to find talent. And granted, everybody loves the guy. I feel we need to move on and just do what's best for the team. I'll listen to your response. Thanks for taking my call, man.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks so much. I agree with you. First of all, it's about the team. It's not about Jim Leonard. It's about the team. The question is, do you believe that Jim Leonard would help the team, would make the team better? And if you say yes to that, then it's a no-brainer. You know, is he one of many, or is he just the guy? I mean, obviously having the ties here in the state of Wisconsin make him a candidate of likability. It makes him a candidate of we're going to give you time to get this right and understanding to get this right. Okay, so all of that comes into play. But no, I 100% agree. It's to me, it's more about, can you get this right and make this a good hire? Can this guy, whoever it is, whether it's Jim Leonard or anybody else, help you relate? And this goes back. Ben says over on the Twitter feed, he says, you said it earlier. Can he teach? It's all about teaching and coaching and collaboration. That's my biggest question. Like I said, there's guys that come in and say, this is the way we're going to do it. This is how it's my way. And then there's other guys that come in and say, this is how we're going to do it, but I want your input. What works, what doesn't. And then when he begins to teach, you say, hey, this is how we're going to cover. This is what I'd like to see from you. And suddenly players go, oh, okay, I get it. Is there a relatability factor there? Hell yeah. If that guy can teach, he's that much better of a coach. And then the next big thing is, does he consistently put his players in position to be successful? Because after that, it's on the players. Is he calling the right defenses and the right schemes against what they're facing at the right time? And then in addition to that, does he put his players in position to be successful? After that, it's about the talent on the field. That's up to the general manager. That's the GM. You can only work with what you work with. But that's what that comes down to. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. Hit us up. Want to hear more from you. Got a lot of people over on the Bud Light live stream. Now that we're back, it's good to be back on the live stream. We are glad to have you on board as always. Sorry for being away for such a long period of time. This portion of the program brought to you by our friends at Boondocks Barbecue, Burgers, and Brews. And they have got different days. Follow them on Facebook, Boondocks BBQ. Boondocks BBQ over there on Facebook. And when you follow them, it's Boondocks BBQ in Brew, by the way, in Brew, the ampersand in Brew. But they got a lot of different things coming up. 75-cent wings tonight, by the way. Starts at 4 o'clock this afternoon, right there on County Road K in Oconomowoc. A lot of good things happening out there and a lot of good people that work there as well. Keep supporting local. Check them out on County Road K in Oconomowoc. 75-cent wing night tonight. That's Boondocks Barbecue, Burgers, and Brews.
This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin SportsZone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 5 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 4 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Good to have you. Good to have you. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. Good to have everybody over on the Bud Light live stream as well. As finally got the equipment, got it all back up and running, so I'm ecstatic about that. This is from Jason, who says, "Hey, Unit, I think that hiring Luke Fickell was the death knell of the Badger football program. He's going to bring in his own guys. He's not a recruiter from the Midwest." Well, yes, he is. And he's blown out Jim Leonard. It's going to sour people on this hire. The next head coach will be more well accepted than Luke Fickell would be. No, that's not true. I don't think so. First of all, you're completely erroneous about recruiting the Midwest. He did a fantastic. He had 45 guys from the greater Cincinnati area when he went to the Final Four last year. 45 guys he recruited local. He did fantastic in that area. He's a guy that he's boots on the ground. When we had Mo Egger on last week from ESPN Radio in Cincinnati, and Mo had said that, Tommy Tuberville, when he was there, not a head coach of any high school program in the area, even saw the guy, much less knew him. Whereas Luke Fickell got there and started going out and shaking hands and bringing in high school coaches from all around the area almost immediately. One of the first things you want to do is own your state. Whatever that may be, whatever the best players in your state are, you want to keep them at home. And then after that, you get outside. That's why he says, let's go 300 miles, maybe 300 miles plus, if you include that area of Ohio. You start recruiting that area heavily. He was pulling guys out of Ohio State saying, hey, look, do you want to go be there one of many, or do you want to come here and be the guy? And he was getting good quality players. I mean, they went to the Final Four, for God's sakes, and were competitive against Alabama. It's not like they got there and they got blown out and their asses kicked. You can only play the teams in front of you. And they did. They won. They got to the Final Four, and then they were competitive in the Final Four last year. So I don't buy that. I don't subscribe to that philosophy of, wow, he's not going to get it done. I don't buy it. 877-867-1670. Hit us up. Again, 877-867-1670. Our buddy Gerard on hold. Gerard from Delaware. What's going on, man? How you doing today?
Hey, Bill. How you doing?
I'm good.
That's good. That's a good thing. Look, you don't think Goody has talked to Leonard already? You don't think so?
I don't know if he's talked to him about the job. I don't know if they'd go that far, but I'm sure they probably said, hey, sorry it didn't work out. We want to keep you in mind. I mean, there was probably a wink and a nod, sure.
Yeah, but if he didn't talk to Leonard, is he still thinking of keeping Barry?
No. Hey,
you know what I'm saying?
Look, I think everything he said the other day in his presser was basically saying this is going to be Matt's decision. Here's the reason why. Because if he makes the decision, Matt looks like an idiot for trying to hang on to his guy. Where he's saying, this isn't my decision. We're going to support whatever Matt does. In other words, yeah, Matt's going to get rid of this guy because it's not working, which means Matt's going to get more credibility to say, hey, I saw it wasn't working. I'm making the change on this team. So Matt takes the credit for firing Joe Barry and not upper management when he might have wanted to hang on to Joe Barry and let those rumors out there. I have a feeling that's what that was.
I get it. Yeah. And as far as Love is concerned, look, I think we have to understand he's not going to be Rodgers, or we don't know that. Okay? But if you put the backfield that we have, you have a decent offensive line, okay?
Yes.
If we don't improve the defense, we'll be in the same predicament as Rodgers is. If Rodgers comes back next year and we don't improve the defense, it's the same thing. So here's what I'm saying. You fellow Packer fans, we got to look at Love this way. Look what the Giants got. They got 7 wins, right?
Mm-hmm.
Look. Jalen Hurts couldn't hit a rhino in the rear end 2 years ago from 7 yards away. If anybody's seen Jalen Hurts against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in that playoff game where he was bouncing balls to receivers, you would have thought then he couldn't be anything in the NFL. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
You have to look at for what it is. This guy's got to play, and you're not going to know until, like you said, that he plays a couple of weeks in a row where teams get to prepare for him, and you see what he's got. Look, obviously he's athletic. He's got a strong arm, and he looked in that last game like he had a very confident face on. He didn't look like a deer in the headlights. So, look, with the young receivers that we have potentially now, and the backfield and the offensive line, why can't he succeed? Why can't he? I can't. Out. We're not going to have 3 Hall of Fame quarterbacks in a row, but it's not going to work that way.
No.
And then you got to look at things at all ways. How many Super Bowls Rodgers taken us to?
No, I agree with that. And they should have actually been to more, and they let the defense fail more often than not. I 100% agree with that. I look at it as, okay, let's just say that Jordan Love, we know he's not going to be a Hall of Famer just because the luck and the history of that just doesn't happen. Okay, let's throw that out. So let's just say he's an above average quarterback. It doesn't mean you can't go out and get a punch you in the face, kick you in the ass defense that you can win with. We haven't seen, I mean, granted, it's been Tom Brady that's been basically winning Super Bowls over the last couple of decades because he's got 7 of them and he's been there more often than not. But you can still win with a more than serviceable quarterback and a really good defense. Last year, look, the reason they won that game last year was because Joe Burrow may be on his way to a Hall of Fame, the Hall of Fame and Hall of Fame career, but they kicked his ass. They beat up that offensive line. Aaron Donald, Von Miller, those are the 2 guys that started wreaking havoc. When they needed it the most in the second half of that game, they relied upon the defense. They just said, Matthew Stafford, go throw to Cooper Kupp. Let's run the ball a little bit. Let's not screw this thing up, but let's give it to our defense. And the defense won that game. Appreciate the phone call as always, Gerard. And the defense won that game. You're absolutely right. Jalen Hurts progressed. Love can progress. I'm not saying he can't, but the likelihood of him being a Hall of Fame quarterback, no. What you have to figure out is you got to get this defense right, whether it's Aaron Rodgers or anybody else, because you don't win a Super Bowl without a dominant defense in some way, shape, or form. The Packers defense did things necessary against the Steelers to win. They did things necessary all season long against other teams to win. They were pick happy. They were turnover happy. That's where they won. They won that turnover battle going away. They had a really good offense, but they won that turnover battle. You look at most teams coming in to the postseason, most teams that when you really look at it concentratively, you say right now, who's got some of the better defenses? San Francisco's got a really good defense. Philadelphia's got a really good defense. It's a damn shame in Denver that they've got a horse's ass for a quarterback. It's a shame because they got a really good defense. They're only giving up 304 yards per game. They're giving up 17 points per game. They're second best in the National Football League, but their offense sucks. Dallas, one of the best defenses. Buffalo, one of the best defenses. Tampa Bay, one of the best defenses. New York, one of the best defenses. Philadelphia, one of the best defenses. You see what I'm saying? Washington, one of the best defenses. Tennessee, one of the best defenses. New York, Cincinnati, Kansas City, points per game. They're only giving up 22.5, puts them in the middle of the pack, but they got a really good offense on top of that, which makes them better than average. But you get what I'm saying. The teams right now that are looking good defensively are the teams that are in the postseason. The ironic thing is that offensively speaking, the Vikings are pretty good, but their defense is lower third, which is ultimately probably going to cost them in the postseason. They're giving up 23.3 points per game. They're in the lower third. They give it up. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. So I completely agree with you, Gerard. If by chance Rodgers moves on and they save a ton of money and they can put that money back into the defense, give him a few weapons to make him more than serviceable and average 23 points per game, 24 points per game, something like that, where the defense that only gives up 20, you're going to win a lot of football. You're going to be in the postseason. You're going to have a shot. Stay tuned. We got a whole lot more of the Bill Michaels Show coming up. This portion of the program, by the way, brought to you by our good friends over there at Wabam, W-A-B-A-M. Go to getwabam.com. That is getwabam.com. Cleaning supplies, ceramics, products, whatever it happens to be. You need it. You want it. They got it. Go to getwabam.com.
This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin SportsZone Radio Network.
One of the worst things that you can hear, you have cancer. The worst is when you hear the words, your child has cancer. When a child is diagnosed with cancer, it changes their world. Sometimes they can't even do things that they really love, like playing soccer, riding a bike, going to prom, attending school. Children with cancer spend a lot of time away from others, time in the hospital, treatments, tired, nauseous, and they feel isolated. That's where Special Spaces Wisconsin steps in. They provide these children with a special space where they can not only sleep, but they can play, they can heal, they can spend time away from the challenges of their illness. It's a customized bedroom designed just for them. How about a princess castle or a pirate ship or a sports-themed bedroom? They transform that child's existing bedroom into a place that only he or she can imagine, a place for them just to be a kid. This effort is done with teams of dedicated volunteers and sponsors, just like our friends from Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin and all the community partners. If you'd like to find out more or to donate, go to specialspaces.org. That is specialspaces.org.
This December, it's a cash avalanche at Potawatomi. Saturdays, you could get buried in up to 10 grand cash. Plus, all the unclaimed prizes snowball into a huge cash jackpot at the end of the month. Just play with your club card for a chance to win. Sure, presents are nice, but nothing beats cold, hard cash. Only at Potawatomi Hotel and Casino. More info at paysbig.com/coldcash. Must be 21 years old to play.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Now, in Green Bay, here's Mike Clemens.
The Packers are in their bye week. Their next opponent is the Rams on Monday Night Football at Lambeau Field in about a week and a half. The Rams have signed Baker Mayfield. After the quarterback requested his release from the Carolina Panthers, the Rams have placed Matthew Stafford on IR. After it was discovered he has a spinal cord contusion, they say his season is likely over. Aaron Rodgers raised questions on whether the team wants him back next year. Matt LaFleur was asked about if he still wants Rodgers in 2023.
Of course. So you guys know how I feel. Like, I have a hard time looking past the LA Rams right now.
And Packers running back Aaron Jones has been nominated for the Walter Payton NFL Man of the Year Award for his work with the Boys and Girls Clubs of Wisconsin and his Yards for Shoes drive that raises funds for kids' footwear in schools across the state.
It's everything. That's what I do it for. See the smiles on their faces and just to bring joy to them. And, who doesn't like a new pair of shoes?
That's Packers running back Aaron Jones. In Green Bay, I'm Mike Clemens on the Bill Michaels Show.
Welcome back. Good to have you. The Bill Michaels Show. We continue on. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. I want to remind you, our good friends down at Stenny's, Second and National Walker's Point. I'm really excited. They're building that, the new Stenny's Lake Country is coming to where the old Boomers Bar used to be out in Pewaukee, which is not far from my house. I'm really looking forward to that. Was just talking to Ryan Stenny today, as a matter of fact, about some stuff. So I'm going to have to stop over there and check out the progress. But Second and National, if you're going to be going to the Bucs game tonight, go downtown. Get yourself some wings, some of the Bill Michaels garlic cheese bread, get a good beverage. Then you jump on the shuttle. Take the shuttle from Stenny's to the Fiserv. Don't worry about parking. Go on in, enjoy the game. Afterwards, come back out, same spot. Takes you right back to your car, right back at Stenny's. Maybe get a little something to munch on after the fact. Good to go. It's that simple. There you go. That's our good friends at Stenny's, Second and National, Walker's Point. Good people down there. 877-867-1670 if you want to hit us up. Watcher says the big question this offseason is this. Are Rodgers, Bakhtiari, Jenkins, Jones, will all these guys be back next year? My answer is to you, no. Some will, some won't. I look at Bakhtiari, and I would probably have to lean towards no. He will not be back. They will probably figure out a way to keep Aaron Jones. He's one of the best weapons they have. You don't let him go. Elton Jenkins, yes, will probably be back. Rodgers is going to be back. I don't feel it in my bones that he won't be. I have a few. If I had to put money on it in Vegas right now, I've done this before and put money and probably lost my house. But if I had to put money on it, I would say Rodgers would be back. Yes. Rodgers has stated it's the waffle. Here we go. Well, it's up to both sides and, blah, blah, blah. It's just stop. Just shut up. Just stop with the, I don't know, golly gee, it's funny because Aaron Rodgers, he got along with Brett Favre. Okay. It's not that he didn't like Brett Favre, because he did, but he was he didn't come out and say it like, I don't want to be like that guy. Okay. But he did a lot of things to do the counter opposite of Favre. And early on in his career, he'd say he stated, both on the mic and off the mic, it's like, I don't want to go through that. I would make a final decision. I want to be, emphatic. I want to be smart. I want to be sure. I don't want to put the fans and the, people through this and the organization through. But yet in the end, he's becoming Favre, man. Hey, do we have to go through this every year starting 2 years ago? 2 off seasons ago? Oh, I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to be back. I've got problems. I want to do this, and I'm going to whine about that. And some of the stuff's legitimate. Some of the stuff can be handled behind closed doors. Some of the stuff he's right on. But the bottom line is, it's here we go. It's I don't know. Golly gee, come on. You want to play or you don't. If you're going to play and you figure you're going to play and you know that your pocketbook is screaming at you that you're going to play, then just shut up. Say, I'm going to take some time away. I'm going to go away at the end of the season. Go enjoy a few things. Go take a couple weeks off. It's a long, grueling season. We didn't have a lot of success. I want to get rid of the bad taste, but I'll be back. I want to play. I'm competitive. I want to play. I feel good right now. I want to play. And if you truly don't want to play, then just say it. I know it's tough because none of us none of us know when it's time to retire. You and I never know. The difference is you and I don't have $250 million sitting in the bank. Would I retire today if I had $250 million? No, I enjoy this too much. I'll know when it's time. But I'm not going to sit here every week, every time I sign off the air and go, oh, geez, I don't know if I'm going to be back tomorrow. I don't know. I don't know. Come on. Bill Huber, Sports Illustrated, going to join us coming up at the top of the hour. Hang in there. Hang in there. Got a lot more. 2 hours down, 2 hours yet to go. The Bill Michaels Show continues tonight. We're going to be at Angry Brothers Pub down in Racine. Hope to see you down there. For the Bill Michaels Huddle, myself, Mike Clements, live and in person. Stay tuned. We got
This is a Wisconsin Sports Zone update.
Well, Jim Leonard won't be staying at Wisconsin after their bowl game later this month. After a week of speculation and an inaccurate report that he would be staying on under new coach Luke Fickell, Badgers defense coordinator said last night he would not be. He intends to stay with the team through the Guaranteed Rate Bowl against Oklahoma State on December 27th. After that, his next destination unclear. Fickell is still putting together his first staff, though it will include co-defense coordinators at Cincinnati in Mike Tressel and Colin Hitchler. While the Leonard news was bad, Badgers did get good news from running back Braylon Allen. He will not follow several teammates into the transfer portal, instead deciding to stick around for his junior season. There have been rumors during the year that Allen intended to transfer. He earned second-team All-Big Ten honors for a second straight year this season. Turning to the Packers, they are on their bye this week, won't play this weekend. They'll return the following Monday night against the Rams at Lambeau Field.
Want to save even more at Fleet Farm? Well, now you can with Fleet Rewards. It's free to sign up, and there's no credit card required. Using Fleet Rewards is easy. Earn points every time you shop. Plus, get exclusive member offers, birthday and anniversary perks, free tire rotations, and more. Download the Fleet Farm app or create an account at fleetfarm.com/rewards to start earning points today. Fleet Farm, proudly serving the Midwest since 1955.
Well, the Badgers are 1-0 in Big Ten play. That's after knocking Maryland from the ranks of the unbeaten last night with a 64-59 win. Wisconsin held the Terrapins to their lowest point total of the season, nearly 20 points below their season average. Chucky Hepburn had 13 points to lead the way for the Badgers. Stephen Crowell had 12 points, 6 rebounds. Wisconsin improved to 7-2 on the year. They'll now hit the road to face Iowa this weekend. And the Bucks back in action tonight against Sacramento. Milwaukee's won 5 of their last 6 games, coming in second in the Eastern Conference. Tip is at 7. With this Wisconsin Sports Zone Network update, I'm Zach Heil.
Welcome back. Good to have you. We continue on. Hopefully, you wake up today We're in the midst of December, although today is a historic day in so many different ways. For myself, obviously today, 1941, you've got the bombing of Pearl Harbor, which I see Facebook and Instagram full of remembrances, and rightfully so. My mom was born on this day. God rest her soul. Today's would have been my mom's birthday. So my mom was born on this day. So every time Johnny Bench was too. I remember that. Back when I worked in Cincinnati, one of the days I made a mention of it, that my mom's birthday, when my mom was alive, I made a mention of my mom's birthday. And I said, oh, by the way, it's Johnny Bench's as well. And I got a really nice note from Bench saying, tell your mom happy birthday, which was really cool. So good stuff. 877-867-1670. This portion of the program brought to you by our friends at Quick Trip. Don't forget about the opening drive contest. You need gas anyway, right? You drive in a Quick Trip, you type in your Quick Rewards card, you fill up, you are automatically registered for the Packers opening drive contest. So when Wayne and Larry say, here's the opening drive of the Green Bay Packers, sponsored by Quick Trip, and today they're playing for, it could be your name. Could be your name. For every yard garnered on the opening drive, you get a $10 gift card. So if they go the full length of the field and score, you get an extra $500 too. So think about that. Do the math. It's a lot of change right there. Good stuff. This time of year, you could use it too. That's our friends at Quick Trip, a proud supporter and sponsor of Green Bay Packers football. Good stuff. Joining us now on the hotline is our good friend Bill Huber. And Packers off, but there is no time to lay down for any of the riders up in Green Bay. Everybody's got something going on. So, Bill, how you doing today, man? What's happening?
I'm good. How about you?
I am good. I'm relaxing a little bit, knowing we don't have to travel this weekend. So, or don't have to, do anything basically this weekend, but sit back, relax, and watch a little bit of football. But okay, let me ask you this. Okay, they get the win over the Bears. Good win, or a win by the skin of your teeth? It doesn't really matter win, or what did you when you walked out of Soldier Field? Other than realizing that place is a complete trash dump, what else did you realize about this Green Bay Packers football team?
Yeah, not much. A win's a win, I guess, right? I mean, I guess, and you would say that in October. I'm not sure December when you're kind of out of things, if you even want to go that far. Look, the Bears stink. They still suck me as the song goes. They had what they traded. They traded Robert Quinn and Roquan Smith. They'd put Eddie Jackson on IR. 3 other starting defensive backs were on the inactive list. That's what, 6 starters?
Mm-hmm. Yes,
and
it is.
And they barely won. They had to rally in the fourth quarter against a defense down 6 starters. That's bad. They're not good. There's nothing to make. They're not back in the playoff race. There's no reason to believe that this is going to be a game changer. Just a bad football team this year.
So, I mean, I know mathematically it's good for us because it keeps people engaged, obviously. And, the more people that are engaged, the better it is. But as you said, there's not a lot there right now to kind of chew on. So let me ask you this. When it comes to moving on and moving forward, are you of the mindset that they have to see Jordan Love before the season's end because you got to know what you have in him? Or do you believe that they know behind closed doors already what they have in him?
Yeah, they already know. I wrote a story about that almost exactly a month ago over at my site at SIPackersCentral.com. I talked to 3 executives about it. In fact, I've talked to 5 since, or 2 others since then. But in all 5, including the 3 that I talked to for the story before I talked to the other 2, all 5 say they know. Look, he's been there for 3 years. If you don't know by now, you're not paying any attention, right? I mean, people can poo-poo this all they want, right? But he's going against the number 1 defense every single day for the last 2 of those years. They've seen him improve. They've seen him throw the football, make all the throws. They've seen him lead. They've seen him do the film study. Everything that you got to do to be a quarterback, they've seen it all, right?
Mm-hmm.
When Aaron Rodgers took over in 2008, they already knew. They knew before the Dallas game in 2007. They already knew that he was a good quarterback. Everything they saw after that was just confirmation of it. But they already knew. So the Packers know whether they think he stinks or they think he's going to be good, or they think he's going to be potentially great. Whatever that is, they know. So no, they don't need to see him play from that standpoint. But I'm sure they would like to see him play because, like I wrote this morning, Aaron Rodgers in 2008, his first year as a starter, was not the same quarterback as he was in 2009 and 2010 and so on, right? I mean, you get better through all your experiences. So at this point, they know what they've got. Now it's just a matter of him getting the experience.
The other teams out there as far as the possibility of a trade down the road goes, I would assume would like to see him. I thought it was a really good point that was made that, well, yeah, they know what he has behind closed doors. But Goody said the other day, and I thought it was very poignant when he said, we know what he is. We want to see whether or not he can win. And I think that's a legitimate ask, that you can try to get this guy in the field to see if he can win, because he's never won a game. He's never played in a winning game. So I want to see if he can win, and that's first and foremost. But also then you can put that on display for other teams to witness as well, correct?
Well, yeah, I don't know that they're going to trade him. But I mean, I suppose so. But, you know, it's like I said about Rodgers in 2008, his first year as a starter, they were 6-10. 2009, the second year, they were 11-5. It's just a matter of seeing it all, right? It's just seeing it live, getting more experience with everything they're going to throw at you, and improving through time. So, yeah, I do think it's important if he's going to be the quarterback. Let's just say that, and I don't think this is true, but let's just say that the Packers are done with Aaron Rodgers. They're like, we're going to get through this season, and we're going to trade, and we're going to go on to Jordan Love, right? Well, if Jordan Love plays 4 games, well, let's say he plays 3 games. He's not going to play against the Rams. That's 3 games more experience than he would have had otherwise going into next season. So, yeah, the experience is important, I think, just as far as the experience part of it, just as far as playing these defenses. I mean, it's one thing to do it in practice where you're going against the number 1 defense going at a pretty good rate of speed. It's a whole other thing, obviously, to go against a real defense going 100%.
We were sitting here talking pretty much all day. I mean, obviously, Jim Leonard is not going to be a part of the Wisconsin Badger program anymore. I can't imagine Joe Barry being a part of the Packers at the end of this season. Do they dip into that pond and try it again, or do you think that they're going to move on in another direction?
No, I would think. I mean, why wouldn't you? Right? I mean, he was going to, if Jim hadn't been so loyal to Wisconsin, he probably have been the defensive coordinator 2 years ago. So why would you not go back to it, right? I mean, I just published a story about it a half hour ago.
Yeah.
Humorously enough. So yeah, I would think so. You're right. Joe's not going to come back. They can't. I don't know that if they were to pull the entire defense, I'm sure they would like to have a change too. So there'll be a new coordinator here, I would think. And you'd be a fool not to talk to Jim Leonard, who you obviously covered it 2 years ago. And now that the ties to Wisconsin have been broken, you'd be a fool not to talk to him.
Here's the other question that's been put out there. And I don't think they've reached out to him with a formal, hey, we want to talk to you about the job. I would say something to the effect of, hey, sorry it didn't work out at Wisconsin. Keep us in mind. Hope you're well. I don't know that they're going to sit down and talk with him, while you still have another defensive coordinator in the fold. But I do now. I thought this was interesting and you guys were. I think it might have been you that asked the question, but Goody was asked specifically about Joe Barry, and he said, "Well, I'm not going to make that decision. But we're going to support whatever Matt does." In other words, we're not going to fire him. We're going to make Matt kind of do this and support Matt, so it looks like Matt's being proactive and gets the credit for getting rid of a coach after an unsuccessful season. But I still believe that there's no way in hell that, because if Matt ties the boat anchor to Joe Barry, he's going to sink. He's not going to be back as a head coach, because you cannot bring Joe Barry back, can you?
No, certainly not. That's I mean, you only get so many hires too. I mean, this is going to be a hugely important one. And you're right. It was Ryan Wood who asked that question. Yeah, it's the worst thing and it was a good question. Actually, it was Jason Muldy who asked. It's a good question, because I think there's a lot of people who wonder who's making these decisions around here. And Goody made it pretty clear that this is the coaching hires are up to Matt LaFleur. He can do as he wishes, and by support I mean, I assume that means that there'll be money to get things done, right? If you owe Joe Barry money when you fire him, well, it's okay. Well, we got you on it. So yeah, you can't bring him back. I mean, I probably said it on this show at the beginning of the year. If these guys aren't top 5 in scoring, Barry should be fired. Now that was some hyperbole, but they were 20th in scoring. They were 13th under Pettin, and they were 13th last year under Barry. You get Jair Alexander back, who you didn't really have last year. You have a first-round pick, Quay Walker, starting every game. You re-sign the guys who you needed to re-sign, and here you are 20th. I mean, you can't do that again.
Okay, a couple of things. First of all, I'm talking about the defense. Do you believe it's scheme and Joe Barry and not challenging guys and not putting them in the right place to be successful, or do you think that it's the it's the overestimation of talent that is just not nearly as good as we thought it was? Or do you think that we've way, way, way overestimated some of these guys as to actually how good they could be?
Yeah, it's probably some of all that. I mean, even Goody said it's not just one thing. I think LaFleur said the same thing on Monday. So it's always multiple things. It's easy to be, hey, it's this or it's that. I mean, I get it. It's easy to take that way, but there's probably some overestimation and talent too, right? I mean, Devondre Campbell had never been a great football player. He's always been a good starter, but he'd never been a great player.
Mm-hmm.
He was great last year. He has not been this year. Rasul Douglas obviously had never been a great player. That's why he was on 4 teams last year alone, right? To expect Campbell and Rasul Douglas to play to that level again, probably crazy to think that. I certainly bought into it. I mean, I'll take the blame for overestimating. But at the same time too, right? You draft Quay Walker, and this team had been for years and years have been a team that, because it's important to play pass defense, that you play so much nickel, which is 6 defensive backs, and teams run all over you because you have undersized guys in there. Well, you got Quay Walker in there. They barely run any dime at all, and so you're essentially got 240 pounds of Quay Walker in there rather than 200 pounds of defensive back. Your run defense should be better. It's not. It's the second worst run defense in franchise history on yards per carry, going back to like 1956. Is the only team that's worse. I mean, these guys are terrible.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, that's everybody. I mean, you show me a guy in that starting a lineup who, and I will tell you a guy who's not performed to previous play, whether it's Kenny Clark was better last year, Dean Lowry was better last year, Devondre Campbell was better last year, Preston Smith was better last year. I mean, they're all better last year. So there's some player stuff involved there too. I'm sure Barry hasn't helped it out. So there's enough blame to go around. But you can't fire the players, right? I mean, that's the old baseball slogan, right? When you fire your manager in season.
I've said all along, I said, look, when you start to lose faith in scheme and what you're doing, you're still out there trying. Don't get me wrong, but when you're playing for something and you're believing in it, you're excited about it, and you're having fun doing it. There's a different level in your step, and I think part of it is, I think talent. They're like, okay. And so you lose that step. So instead of getting a shoulder into the guy, you've got an arm reaching out for the guy. You're trying to bring him down with an arm tackle, which is the reason you're not sitting there in front of them, which is the reason you're not as aggressive. And you may say I'm giving my effort, but are you giving the same level of effort if you were, say, in the postseason, if you were really going for it, if you really believed that you guys were tenacious and you had this camaraderie and this group and this unit as a whole was really getting after it? I don't see any of that. I mean, there are times where it looks like these guys are just going through the motions,
Yeah, I think that shows up with the pursuit part of it, right? I mean, the coaches have said 1,000 times, if you're going to miss a tackle, that's fine, as long as your teammates are there to help you out. And they were against Chicago, but against Philadelphia, there's so many missed tackles where the guy missed a tackle, but there wasn't that next guy there waiting for him. Now, on Sunday, I believe there was a play where I believe it was Preston Smith and Jair both missed tackles on the same play. But there's another guy there, and they dropped Montgomery for -5. I mean, that's what it takes, because you are going to miss tackles. So you need that extra effort to get there. I didn't see it against Philly. I think it was there against Chicago. Let's go back to last year for a second. And I wrote this during training camp. That defense was terrible last year. The second half of the season, go look at the points allowed numbers. After they beat up on Russell Wilson, they gave up 1 million points for the rest of the year. And so much of everything was premised on the playoff game against San Francisco, because they were great that game. But it's like ignoring everything else. And San Francisco, of course, had Jimmy Garoppolo, and it was a big game. You're talking about that extra effort. I mean, it was a playoff game. You had to have that. So they were great against the 49ers. Now they regressed to kind of where they were for a lot of last year, where they were not a good defense last year, and they're not this year.
Hey, real quick before I let you go, a lot of questions today about who may or may not stay. Now, I know it's way too early because we haven't even gotten to the offseason yet, but I know Goody kind of alluded to the fact that David Bakhtiari is playing really, really well, and he said we'll work on that when we get to the offseason. Do you think in any way, shape, or form Bakhtiari's back with his team next year?
Yeah, so that's a tough one because you have to be the medical guy, right? He had that surgery. I don't know when that third surgery is. March. I'm making up the date. I have no idea off the top of my head because it's not. I don't have my notes in front of me. Was that surgery the surgery that he needs to get his career back on track? In other words, he gets through the season, he gets all off season to rest it and to rehab it, and he comes back really feeling good next year. That's possible. Mm-hmm. Or it's possible that the third surgery is just the guy who's going to have bad knees or a bad knee the rest of his career? I have no idea what the answer to that is. What I do know is the guy is unbelievable. The guy, there's been weeks where he's barely practiced at all, and he goes out there and pitches a shutout. Can you imagine being that good at anything? The guy's an amazing player. I'd bring him back. Maybe you can work in that cap number some, but he is so good. And as Goody said, left tackles do not grow on trees.
Right. Yeah, that's the big issue, is that to try to find a really, really good left tackle, that's few and far.
First round pick.
Yeah, and
I think I looked up at the start of the year. I think 18 of the 32 were first round picks.
Yeah.
A couple of years ago, it was 22. There was actually a couple of years ago there was more first round left tackles than first round quarterbacks, which is pretty amazing. But it shows you the value of that position.
Yep, no doubt. Good stuff, Bill. Appreciate it as always, pal. Enjoy the week. Okay.
All right, have a good one.
All right, buddy. There you go. He just wrote a story talking about Jordan Love. So if you want to find him, Bill Huber NFL at Bill Huber NFL over on Twitter. Get a link to all his stuff there. This portion of the Bill Michaels Show brought to you by Lisa Lee Ortel and the real estate company. Lisa can help you out with all your real estate needs. Whether you're looking to buy, whether you're going to sell, maybe you're going to invest in a property, you can check her out on Facebook, or you can email her, lisamoveswi@gmail.com. lisamoveswi@gmail.com. You can call direct, 414-617-6798. 414-617-6798. They've got a team of experts they work with. They can help you get 1% closing cost right now, up to $3,000 on the credit. And you got free mortgage refinancing on loans that are still closed this year. So get a hold of Lisa. I know it's not the most opportune time to buy and such, but I'll tell you this, eventually the interest rates are going to come back down. So you buy the property now while the prices are going down, and then you refinance when the interest rate comes down. It's that simple. Take advantage of it. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. If you want to find us, please feel free to go ahead and do so. We'd love to have you. 877-867-1670. Stay tuned. We got more of the Bill Michaels Show next.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin SportsZone Radio Network.
One of the worst things that you can hear, you have cancer. The worst is when you hear the words, your child has cancer. When a child is diagnosed with cancer, it changes their world. Sometimes they can't even do things that they really love, like playing soccer, riding a bike, going to prom, attending school. Children with cancer spend a lot of time away from others, time in the hospital, treatments, tired, nauseous, and they feel isolated. That's where Special Spaces Wisconsin steps in. They provide these children with a special space where they can not only sleep, but they can play, they can heal, they can spend time away from the challenges of their illness. It's a customized bedroom designed just for them. How about a princess castle or a pirate ship or a sports themed bedroom? They transform that child's existing bedroom into a place that only he or she can imagine. A place for them just to be a kid. This effort is done with teams of dedicated volunteers and sponsors, just like our friends from Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin and all the community partners. If you'd like to find out more or to donate, go to specialspaces.org. That is specialspaces.org.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Good to have you. Hey, don't forget about our gang out there at J&L Tire Service. If you are needing brakes or oil changes, if you're an over-the-road driver and your tractor trailer needs work in any way, shape, or form, whether you're just a minivan driver, soccer mom, salesperson out on the road, back and forth to work every day, or you're over the road in the big rig, it doesn't matter. They have the facilities to work with everybody. And the best part about it is you can trust them. That's the reason I go there. I just was out there last week, and there was just a bunch of knick-knack stuff that needed to be done, and I needed a new nozzle on my windshield washer sprayer on the driver's side. It wasn't working. The base plate underneath my car, I told you, had kind of broken off. I needed an oil change. I needed turn signal lights on both sides that had gone bad. And I got an estimate I had taken my car to the dealership, which still has not been fixed, by the way, for the dealership that I work with. It still has not been fixed. And it's not one of the ones that advertise with us, by the way, because I drive a Genesis. So I took it to the dealership near me. They still have not finished my car. In the meantime, and they gave me an estimate over $500 for the work that I needed to be done. I took it out to J&L Tire. I got it done for just over $300. So they saved me about $180, and they had it done in a day. The rest of my work still is not done at the other place. I'm still waiting on parts. So I love those guys. J&L Tire right there on the Johnson Creek exit out on 94 in Johnson Creek, just north of 94. So stop in, tell them we said hi. JNLtire.com too, by the way. And they have one up in Watertown. That's the best part about it. They have 2 locations, and they're big philanthropists. They give back to the community. Good people. John says this team isn't going to get hot either. They don't have the horses. Look, there is the reality of thought. Okay, let's go with 2 different levels here. There's the reality of thought. The reality of thought is you and I both know. This team isn't going to the postseason, right? You know it in your soul. The reality is you know it in your soul. And why do you say it out loud? To talk yourself out of hope, right? The fan in you goes, man, I hope they win. I hope they win. And then we all find ourselves checking the box scores, right? You're checking that next day. Oh, or you're checking as the game's going on, right? Like this weekend, you know, we don't have anything going on, but you know this weekend what we're going to be doing, right? We got other things going on, but you know you're going to be checking it. You know, hey, we're going to find out, did the Lions get beat? Oh, boy, we're going to check that out. Falcons aren't playing, so we can't check on them. Commanders aren't playing, we can't check on them. But the other teams we can, right? Seahawks, do they get beat by Carolina? By chance, does Carolina, after dumping Baker Mayfield and getting rid of that guy, do they just have this little bit of rejuvenation in them that all of a sudden Baker Mayfield's out? Seattle, they go down at home? Can it happen? Certainly. Well, why not check on it, right? We're going to be checking that kind of stuff. Do the Giants get beat by the Eagles this weekend? Do the Giants continue to falter? So there's going to be things we're going to be looking at, certainly. So that's the fan in you. So the reality is we know this sucks. We know they're only 1 loss away from the great big E being put on the team on Monday morning by the NFL Network that says eliminated, just like they did with the Chicago Bears this past week. We understand it. We know it. We get it. But there's that fandom in you it's undeniable that you're sitting there going, just what if it happens? It's like when you know you're not going to win the lottery. You know it, but it's up to 350, 400, $1 billion. You're going to take a chance on it, and you know you're not going to win it. There's 1 in 100 trillion billion. You're not winning it. You're throwing your money away. You might as well wipe your butt with it in a bathroom type of chance. But you still wake up the next morning and go, "Did I win? Did I win?" It's the same thing, right? It's the same thing. Even if the Packers get lucky, if they get the 7th seed, if they get in. That makes them one of the hotter teams in football. So but that scenario is not really in the realm of possibility in your thought, but there's still in your heart that little bit of hope, you know? There's that little bit of hope. You can have that, but you don't crap on people who have it. Well, they're not going to make it. And then you stick your finger in their face going, "I told you so." We know that. You're not telling us anything we don't really know. Just don't take away the little bit of modicum of hope that you have as a fan, you know? 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. Oh, boy. People just go crazy. They get so angry and upset. They just do. Just do. This was from Joe D, listening to us in Rapid City, South Dakota. By the way, Joe D, listening to us out there, I love that area. I cannot wait to get back out to South Dakota. I can't wait to get back out to Sturgis, hang out in Rapid City over at the Harley-Davidson dealership a little bit, go through the vendors, eat a little good food out there. I love that stuff. Just an FYI. Says Big Unit, even though I can't stand Joe don't know defense Barry, do we really want Jim Leonard to be in Green Bay? He runs a Mike Pettin-style defense, and we all know what happened there. Keep up the great work. Have a very Merry Christmas. Joe D listening to us in Rapid City, South Dakota. I said I don't worse. You pray to God it can't. And I think Jim Leonard he's a smart guy. I know we've had people call and say, well, you know, he feasted on lesser teams. Well, that's what you're supposed to do. You don't apologize for it. And really, really good teams, top 5 ranked teams over the years, they're supposed to be good. You're supposed to have more problems with them. That's because they're really, really good. What you're trying to do is contain them because you're not going to stop them. You know, that's like in the NFL. You know, you look at teams and team schedules and, you know, wow, yeah, you only beat the easy teams. Well, good teams are good teams. They're harder to beat. You don't apologize for it. Now, if you get beat consistently and you perform horrifically bad against the same system and better teams, you either, one, have a different scheme that needs to be looked into, or two, they just have far greater personnel. But you don't apologize because you're top 5 overall, but you're losing against the top 3 teams. The top 3 teams and top 5 teams are the top 5 teams. When you're talking 300 and something, the NFL, it's a little bit different, but I don't. If you're good, you're good. If you're good, people know it. If you're good, you're putting your players in position to be successful. If you're good, you're taking players that were pretty good players, but not great, and making guys great. And then they move on to greatness because they suddenly get it, because you have the teaching ability to express it to them, to say, this is what you need to do and how we do it, rather than this hieroglyphics that other coaches have shown you in the past. If you've got the ability to teach, you can teach. You know? 877-867-1670. I'll get back into some of this other stuff coming up here momentarily. Hang in there. Rick says, I think I'd rather have Zimmer or Fangio rather than Leonard, just based on them having the pro track record. Brandon says, don't even dash the Lions' hope for getting in either, everybody. I get it. Hey, the Lions are finally winning a few games and looking decent, you know? Seems like they're starting to put a few things together over there. This portion of the program brought to you by our good friends over there at New Male Medical, treating guys with ED all over the state of Wisconsin, well beyond the borders as well. And all you got to do is call 414-455-4451. Let me tell you why. Because if you got ED, you know it. You know it, right? You know it. Your partner knows it. But call. They have a 98% success rate. That's flat out. There you go. If, say, you're moody and you're sluggish and you got brain fog and you're just down and up and down, you can't figure out why, just stop in and say, look, I'm over the age of 30. I want to get some things checked. Make sure you're good to go. And if you're not, they can help you out. And if you are, they'll tell you. You just need some other things maybe. Maybe you just need to feel better. You need to get up and move around a little bit. Maybe you're depressed because your gut's bigger than your monkey. You don't know. You can't find it anymore. You're just peeing out of your tummy. You can't figure it out. Go to the all-in-one weight loss program. It's that simple. All you got to do is pick up the phone and call. There's 2 locations in the state of Wisconsin, but anywhere you're at in this country right now, call them 414-455-4451. God knows that if you have a cell phone, long distance calls are free for the most part. 414-455-4451. Call them and they can put you in touch with a location nearest you. It's that simple. Again, 414-455-4451. That's the Numel Medical Center.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin SportsZone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 5 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 4 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Welcome back. Good to have you. Hey, our friends at Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin. Yes, Pella. Gina Della from Pella. They've got elves out there putting windows in and doors in and entry systems and patio doors and all kinds of stuff right now. So it's not a problem to do it in the wintertime. They can get it done. They're going to replace your leaky windows and doors right now. No money down. Make no payments, no interest for 12 months. And that's more jingle in your pocket. And that goes all the way through the end of 2023. So the Pella Elves, they install year-round, like I had mentioned, and they'll shut off a room. So it's not like you're losing a ton of heat in the whole deal or anything like that. But they are the most preferred by many markets here in the state of Wisconsin, and the highest rated for highest value, highest quality, most preferred, all that kind of good stuff. Make the New Year's resolution right now. Just say, hey, look, I got to get my house more economical, or maybe I'm going to sell it and I want to add more value, or maybe I want to make it more beautiful. All of those things go into Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin. You saw the commercial on TV between myself and Gina and what they did for the replacement door that I ordered and how it looked after the fact. It's beautiful. It's stunning. The whole side of the house just is clean, and it's got great lines now. It's good stuff. Schedule your free consultation today simply by going to PellaWI.com. That is PellaWI.com, or call them 855-PELLA-WI. That's 855-PELLA-WI, and see for yourself. 877-867-1670. Watcher says Joe Barry should be demoted to locker room maintenance at this point. Locker room maintenance. By the way, our poll question of the day: do you want to see Jim Leonard become the next defensive coordinator of the Green Bay Packers? 72.6% of you say yes. 500 plus votes now over on Twitter. 500 plus votes. And 27.4% of you say no. So there you go.
Bill, I will note, if there's one thing, and Leonard has talked about this, the one thing that gives him the most trouble, running quarterbacks.
I think running quarterbacks give every defensive coordinator trouble. And here's the reason why. Because if you don't have a spy that is as speedy or speedier than the quarterback you're trying to contain, you're in trouble. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah. You just can't operate in the same structure. But it's also harder to defend. They get an extra blocker, all those things. But in college especially, like Jim Leonard dominates quarterbacks that just stay in the pocket because he knows how to pressure them. For those guys, yeah, it's nearly impossible.
Which is the reason that the trend is to find these read option style quarterbacks. Well, first and foremost, that's more prevalent now in college football than it's ever been. The drop back pro style passer in college is, I'm not going to say a thing of the past, but it's few and far between. So yes, I understand that. But I mean, you look at a guy like Jalen Hurts, you go to Lamar Jackson. Now, the one thing I will say about a lot of these guys is they don't seem to have longevity, because eventually you get figured out. Look at Lamar Jackson right now. He's banged up again. And Jalen Hurts, for what he brings. And Jalen Hurts is, we talk about, his squatting ability and the fact that he works on his legs, and he just has this unbelievable strength coming out of his lower body. And that gives him the capability to take on defenders and such. But at some point, man, it's you got to be careful, because it's not just your legs. It's your legs. It's your throwing arm. It's your shoulders. It's all of that, wrists, everything. So I'm sure every time he takes off and runs and he looks like he's going to get hit, Ben, you probably take a gasp of air. Correct?
Yes. Yeah, small one.
Yeah. Every time, because we know the fragility of quarterbacks in the National Football League. Every running quarterback, for the most part, has gone down with injury. Now, you can look at a lot of quarterbacks and say it cut their career short. You look at a guy like Marino. He was never a runner, but knees cut his career short. Go back to Joe Namath, cut his career short. The lower back injury to Joe Montana cut his career short. You can start talking about a lot of that stuff. Probably the toughest cat was Brett Favre, who lasted into his early 40s. Warren Moon, who was a little bit of a runner, but he was able to avoid hits for a long period of time. But eventually it catches up to you. But that's what you breathe heavy every time they take a run out of the pocket. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. David says, I love Jim Leonard. I love what he did for the Badger program, both as a player and as a coach. I don't want to see him become the next defensive coordinator of the Green Bay Packers, because I don't want to end up hating him the way I hate Joe Barry. That seems to be, for those that don't want to see him become the next defensive coordinator of the Packers, that's the reason why. You're almost guaranteeing at some point it's not going to be successful, and you're going to go screaming. Which also then, I guess, you kind of look at it and say, every defensive coordinator's you're going to hate. Every defensive coordinator you're going to hate, right? I think there's a missed tackle. The minute a team runs it up on you, you hate them. Correct? Certainly. 877-867-1670. Let's go to Teddy, listening to us in Milwaukee. Teddy, how you doing today, bud? What's up?
Hi, Bill.
Hey, what's happening?
Hey, the one thing that the Packer franchise has suffered from is inexperience. And, Murphy, in his brilliance, he, in my opinion, he's always a day late, and a dollar short on all of these things. So, he hires LaFleur, a guy with no experience, but, he's been with some coaches that have had success, and so he's got the pedigree. They bring him in. And, of course, Murphy is flying off the handle at how great this guy is. I mean, at the press conference, you literally couldn't shut him up. I mean, LaFleur couldn't even get a word in edgewise because Murphy just kept saying, oh, my God, this guy is so good. He's so good. And the only reason I point this out is because the thinking and the mindset is so flawed in the organization. And so LaFleur, when he's interviewing for a defensive coach, Leonard is his first choice. And then Leonard, a guy who's, 37, 38?
Right.
That's his first choice. No professional football experience. And his next choice is Joe Barry, a guy that's 58 or whatever. And the only, of course, he's been in the NFL, but his resume as a defensive coordinator is terrible. I mean, his defenses would barely crack, the top, the bottom, the last three in the league.
Yeah.
So, but he hires him. Now look at the thinking there. You got Leonard, his first choice, and then Barry. They're diametrically opposite. And LaFleur has done this, in the special team area. What he did before they brought on Zimmerjets, whatever his name is. They elevated the guy that was working with the worst special teams in the world, and so the mentality there is
right.
Well, I'm just saying you can't trust LaFleur with any decision he ever makes, and you can't trust Murphy, and you can't. So we've got, and the reason you can say this is because we have a track record. I mean, Gutekunst, he's made catastrophic decisions and then has had to backtrack on catastrophic decisions. So we're constantly always having to backfill in these huge mistakes that they make. And they think they're getting ahead. You know, they've had franchise quarterbacks that have been able to correct them and to save them from their disasters. But now, you know, they swing from a 13-win season to a 6-win season. And, you know, they're going to, you know, blame it all on the defense. Well, it's not all on the defense. And consequently, I just think, and of course, Leonard would be the worst choice. You can't bring Leonard in and bring in another guy to learn, another learning curve to go through. You've got to get some experience. You've got to get some people that know what they're doing.
Right. No, I appreciate the phone call. When you talk about bringing in certain decisions, I'm sure there has to be, when it came to the name of Joe Barry, there had to be a vetting process to say, why is Joe Barry the answer here? Now, remember, and this is going to pain a lot of people, but I'm going to go back and say, wait a minute. Don't forget, this defense last year wasn't terrible. It wasn't what we're seeing now. It was a decent defense. And we thought with the addition of Quay Walker, Devontae Wyatt, Jerron Reed, the exodus of Za'Darius, Rashawn Gary getting full-time playing time, Jair coming back after missing last season, Stokes, who had a hell of a rookie campaign, being the counterpart to Jair back there, and Savage and Amos, you're thinking this is going to be a top 5 defense. This can only go up, right? We never saw this coming. We never saw the regression of Darnell Savage Jr. the way he has played this season. The almost shying away from contact. We knew it would be some growing pains for Quay Walker and Devontae Wyatt. We understood that. But we never thought we'd see, you know, remember Stokes goes down with an injury, obviously. We never thought we'd see that secondary be so misused. Rasul Douglas kind of being just the nickel guy. You know, it just, there was so many, we never, and as Bill Huber alluded to a little bit earlier in the program, you know, you look at the numbers, Dean Lowry's down, Kenny Clark is down, Preston Smith is down, Devondre Campbell is down. Everybody's down. So is that the complete and utter failure, schematically speaking, of the defensive coordinator not putting guys in the right place at the right time to be successful? Or is this the offense that put way too much pressure on a defense that the defense just kind of looked at it and said, what the hell? And became a little bit slower in step? Is this the decline of all these players at the same time? I mean, what is it? We just didn't see this level of ineptitude coming. I think we can all agree upon that. But last year wasn't bad. Last year wasn't bad. This year, crap. I still go back to just too many times I saw second and short, third and short situations, fourth and short situations, and guys playing, 5 yards beyond the sticks. That to me is unforgivable. Completely unforgivable. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. Want to hit us up. Don't forget our friends over at Skipper Buds. Skipper Buds, I know it's not the time of year where you start thinking about boating, but you really kind of should. And here's the reason why. Because as the off season goes on, the deals get better. They got to move inventory. It's that simple. They got to move inventory going into next season. So get a hold of them. If you're thinking about next summer in any way, shape, or form, and you're going, maybe I wouldn't mind a boat next year. Me and the family, me and the kids, me and my girlfriend, me and my buds, whatever it happens to be, check out our friends at Skipper Buds, 262-544-1200, 262-544-1200. Ask for Todd. He's the GM over there, 262-544-1200. Or if you got a boater on your Christmas list, they have a whole huge display department, especially at the one in Pewaukee, of accessories for boating gear. Makes a nice gift idea. Think about that. Stay tuned. We got a whole lot more of the Bill Michaels Show. It's coming up right after this.
Ready? This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin SportsZone Radio Network.
Ho, ho, ho! I need new windows.
Maybe it's cold outside.
So where do I go? Ho, ho.
Come on, Santa. Go to Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin. Now is the time to replace your leaky windows and doors. You and Mrs. Claus can get your new windows while putting no money down, no payments, and no interest for up to 24 months. Unwrap this gift now, but pay for it 2 years later.
More jingle that stays in my pocket.
That's right, Santa. Plus, our elves install year-round and in as little as 1 day. Pella offers lines in luxurious wood to fiberglass and vinyl.
Why not make a New Year's resolution today?
That's the spirit, Santa.
Hella no, pay later.
Absolutely. Put no money down, no payments, and no interest for up to 24 months. But you have to hurry. Offer ends December 31st. Schedule your free consultation today at PellaWI.com.
Journalistic device control for details.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Now, in Green Bay, here's Mike Clemens.
The Packers have the week off after beating the Bears in Chicago. At 5-8, the Packers are still mathematically alive for a playoff spot. I asked center Josh Myers, after 13 games, are they glad the team is finally getting a bye this week?
Yeah, that was a long stretch. That bye is much needed for sure. And feel great coming off a win into the bye.
After Sunday's game, Aaron Rodgers was asked if new receivers like Christian Watson entices him to come back next year for his 19th NFL season.
It all factor into it, but there's got to be mutual desire on both sides.
Rodgers was a no-show yesterday on the Pat McAfee show.
So what had happened was I said, Aaron Rodgers is in 5 minutes. Okay? So then I think a friend told a friend, and a friend then told Aaron, because I got a text from Aaron. It goes, hey, I'm on a plane right now. Spotty service. I don't think I'm going to be able to. Guess we should. It's bye week or whatever. And immediately I go, I've just lied to everybody.
Packers GM Brian Gutekunst held a press conference and was asked if the team wants Rodgers back next season, and what did he mean by a mutual agreement.
Yeah, that's probably a better question for him. But no, we haven't really talked about those things. We don't talk about those things during the season very often. We just talk more about our team when we speak. Certainly that'll be something we get to when we get that. But I mean, again, we went through something in the offseason where it was a very big commitment on our part. It wasn't certainly for 1 year. So, but no, we don't. We were really having any conversations about that stuff during the season.
That's Packers general manager Brian Gutekunst. In Green Bay, I'm Mike Clemens on the Bill Michaels Show.
Welcome back. Good to have you. Hey, our friends at the Irish Cultural Heritage Center. Big weekend this past weekend with Rory Macomb, who had a terrific Christmas concert. But now it's Christmas O'Carolyn featuring the Reverie Road coming up on December 18th. Tickets still available. Go to ICHC.net, ICHC.net. And you will definitely enjoy your Christmas spirit. That's our friends at the Irish Cultural Heritage Center. Stay tuned. We got another hour of the Bill Michaels Show coming up right after this.
This is a Wisconsin Sports Zone update.
Well, Jim Leonard won't be staying at Wisconsin after their bowl game later this month, after a week of speculation and an inaccurate report that he would be staying on under new coach Luke Fickell. Badgers defense coordinator said last night he would not be. He intends to stay with the team through the Guaranteed Rate Bowl against Oklahoma State on December 27th. After that, his next destination unclear. Fickell is still putting together his first staff, though it will include co-defense coordinators at Cincinnati in Mike Tressel and Colin Hitchler. While the Leonard news was bad, Badgers did get good news from running back Braylon Allen. He will not follow several teammates into the transfer portal, instead deciding to stick around for his junior season. There have been rumors during the year that Allen intended to transfer. He earned second-team All-Big Ten honors for a second straight year this season. Turning to the Packers, they are on their bye this week, won't play this weekend. They'll return the following Monday night against the Rams at Lambeau Field.
Want to save even more at Fleet Farm? Well, now you can with Fleet Rewards. It's free to sign up, and there's no credit card required. Using Fleet Rewards is easy. Earn points every time you shop. Plus, get exclusive member offers, birthday and anniversary perks, free tire rotations, and more. Download the Fleet Farm app or create an account at fleetfarm.com/rewards to start earning points today. Fleet Farm, proudly serving the Midwest since 1955.
Well, the Badgers are 1-0 in Big Ten play. That's after knocking Maryland from the ranks of the unbeaten last night with a 64-59 win. Wisconsin held the Terrapins to their lowest point total of the season, nearly 20 points below their season average. Chucky Hepburn had 13 points to lead the way for the Badgers. Stephen Crowell had 12 points, 6 rebounds. Wisconsin improved to 7-2 on the year. They'll now hit the road to face Iowa this weekend. And the Bucs back in action tonight against Sacramento. Milwaukee's won 5 of their last 6 games, coming in second in the Eastern Conference. Tip is at 7. With this Wisconsin Sports Zone Network update, I'm Zach Heil.
Welcome in, one and all. We're glad to have you. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. If you want to give us a shout, please feel free to go ahead and do so. please feel free to go ahead and do so. We've got a lot of good stuff coming up. By the way, do not forget this portion of the program brought to you by our friends over there at Rock Ventures and Lux Golf Bays in Franklin. They have the North Pole experience going on right now. They have got the ski hill or the sledding and tubing hill going on right now. And so much good stuff. It's Milwaukee's newest mixed-use entertainment district, and they got the Milky Way drive-in. They've got the Milkmen play there in the summertime. They've got all kinds of stuff over there. I mean, it just continues to grow. It's just huge, that complex. But Lux Bay Golf, they have a ton of golf bays. I mean, a ton of golf bays over there. And they're heated. That's the best part about it. They're heated this time of year. Hell yeah. Go over there, swing the club, get your game on, keep it fresh. You can take a big group over there. Good place to have maybe a Christmas party if you're a business. Go over and swing some clubs. You're good to go. There you go. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. If you want to find us, feel free. Again, 877-867-1670. By the way, the golf ventures over there, the Lux Bay, it's called the Enchanted North Pole. The Enchanted North Pole. There's hot cocoa and brunches and treats from Mrs. Claus and photo opportunities. You can build toys. You can all kinds of neat stuff. But they do have VIP experiences and Lux golf events, and they have 57 bays that are heated. So don't forget about them. This is now going to do you want to see Jim Leonard be the next defensive coordinator of the Green Bay Packers? 524 votes cast over on Twitter. 72.3% of you say yes. 27.7% of you say no. Here's a tweet I want to read for you. In Jim Leonard's defensive coordinator tenure, in 2016 through 2022, the Badgers were combined 3-11 versus Ohio State, Penn State, and Michigan. 0-5 versus Ohio State, 0-3 versus Penn State, 3-3 versus Michigan. They play Ohio State 3 times, Penn State 4 times, Michigan 1 time. The Packers don't play Purdue, Northwestern, Minnesota, Illinois, Nebraska, and freaking Iowa. So many deluded fans out there.
Wow.
So this is from Luke, who tweeted us that. He said, these are the exact facts. Don't be stupid. Give me your thoughts, Ben.
Can we add some context to each of those games? Because, I mean, wins and losses are not a defensive coordinator's stat. Sometimes nor is the score. They got dump trucked by Ohio State this season. I don't know if I'm going to put all that on Jim Leonard when it was clear the roster and the defense he had out there wasn't really equipped to stop what Ohio State was doing. Mm-hmm. But he's not, to the side of all blame there, but that was a tough ask. They lost to Penn State in 2021, 16-10 in a game where the offense turned the ball over 3 times in the red zone.
Right.
The defense was terrific. They lose to Michigan 38-17 when it was a really close game at halftime. And then Mertz gets hurt. Chase Wolf comes in. Offense turns it over 4 times. And then Michigan just ran away with it at the end. Not all those losses are just losses.
Right.
If anything, the defense has been what kept them in the game, and the offense just hasn't done the job.
See, that's the thing. That's like when people say, well, Rodgers, here's his postseason record. And he's 1-5 in NFC championship games. Yeah, but most of the time they don't have any business being there to begin with. And by the time you get to the NFC championship game, you're usually playing really, really good teams. And the defense has been exposed more often than not. It hasn't necessarily been the offense. It's been the defense. Last couple of years, I agree. You could maybe say that. But for the most part, you go back to 2014, that wasn't Rodgers. You go back to that game in San Francisco, that wasn't Rodgers. Defense couldn't stop Mostert to save their life. They had no business playing against Atlanta in Atlanta. I mean, he willed him there with that play to Jared Cook, bringing him back with a bad calf muscle in the game down in Dallas. So you're right. You can't just look at the record and go, oh, there you go. That's the determination. I agree that it's not good against top-notch teams, but I'm not putting all that on Jim Leonard. Lambeau West says, does his scheme cause bad tackling? Yeah. Scheme can. Yeah. If you're not in a position to make a play and you're being asked to do something, and instead of setting up, breaking down a play, sticking a shoulder into somebody, instead you're chasing the play, or you're covering a zone in which instead of, having a guy man-to-man in a particular situation or what have you, then you're trying just to grab a guy down the road. Yeah, scheme can actually cause bad tackling, especially a scheme that guys don't believe in.
I would say Joe Barry's does. I would argue Jim Leonard's scheme creates good tacklers. Like, look at all the inside linebackers that don't get drafted that are thought to be not athletic enough for the NFL. Jack Sanborn, TJ Edwards, they all go in and they're great. It's also like the pro game, you're playing with NFL players against an NFL team. Jim Leonard often has had 3- and 4-star recruits going up against a dream team Ohio State unit.
Right.
It's tough for any defensive coordinator to win those matchups with the personnel mismatch.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I'm not saying, look, that there are times that, Jim Leonard's had missteps. Everybody does. But I'm not laying that at his door. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. If you want to find us, please feel free. Go ahead and do it. Judge Smales' burner account says talent discrepancies in the NCAA is a real thing. That 100% agree. 100% agree. Tom says Ohio State outscored Leonard's defense 151-70 in the last 4 games. Okay, Tom, I understand that. But tell me what they've done to other teams as well, first and foremost. How big of a discrepancy is that versus other teams? And you're talking about they're a perennial Final Four team every year. Again, the only comparison you have is to the best of the best. The Big Ten champion for years and years and years up until the last 2 years. That's my point. Yes, you'd like to see them shut down Ohio State. I completely agree with that. But again, are you comparing the same level of talent? Much like Ben just stated, you're going up against the 5-star recruits that they have backups to the backups that are 5-star recruits at Ohio State. And you're getting it done with 3- and 4-star recruits at Wisconsin and coaching them up. So look, and again, how much did the offense play into that? Did they turn the ball over numerous times? Did they not move the ball numerous times? Was the defense on the field far too long? Somebody who runs the same defensive scheme as Pettin, who the Packers fired a year and a half ago. Am I missing something? I really think someone with a track record is needed. Your thoughts? Did you ever see what Mike Zimmer runs or Vic Fangio runs? Correct me if I'm wrong. I think Vic Fangio is a 3-4 guy, right? I've said this from the get-go. You put the right people in the right place to make a play, they'll make a play. That's their job. That's their job. We've argued this, go back years and years and years. 3-4 versus 4-3 versus the hybrid. The bottom line is nobody plays it that way. Nobody plays base. You're in base maybe 20, 25% of the game at most. Most of the time, most teams today are playing nickel and dime. They don't. The way you get it done is with good pass rushers on the outside, a beast up the gut, a good middle linebacker, and good coverage. That's the way you get it done. You don't get it done anymore running 4 big bodies at offenses. You just don't do that very often. Not many teams do that. Most of the time, they're in nickel. It's how you run that. I think most defensive coordinators at this point would say, okay, it's all nickel all the time. I'm going to look and see, what my talent is versus what your talent is in running nickel. That's it. Because you don't run base defenses anymore. 877-867-1670. If you want to find us, please feel free. Rick says Murphy's going to retire in a couple of years. You just have to wait for new leadership at the top. The whole thing with Mark Murphy, my question over and over and over and over and over and over again, what is Mark Murphy's responsibility? what is Mark Murphy's responsibility? Can anybody that really understands the situation tell me what Mark Murphy's responsibility is? Because it's not what you think.
You got Papa Smurfy.
Papa Smurfy. It's not.
He runs a sledding hill,
yeah,
right?
Well, yeah, right. According to most, yeah, that's all he does is Mark Murphy shows up for work. He grabs a lollipop and he runs across the street and goes down the sledding hill. That's what people think. But what is Mark Murphy's job? His main job, his main number one overall responsibility. Can anybody tell me? Can anybody tell me? Raise your hand if you can. Because the number one responsibility is to keep. That's what he's been entrusted to. That's it. Everything else is semantics. His number one job is to keep the team financially viable. Now, it's the product on the field to keep it solid. The business side of things, to make sure that they're selling merchandise, to make sure that the properties that they're purchasing are renovated and capable of making money, to figure out more, bigger, better ways to make the experience for game day fan appreciative, to keep fans coming back. All of that. But your number one priority as the president of the Green Bay Packers is to make sure that this team remains financially viable so you never have to worry about losing it. Number one, because you don't have an owner. That's it. Let's go to the phone calls. Let's go to Dwayne listening to us in Oshkosh. Dwayne, how you doing today, man? What's up?
Well, Bill, I have a new favorite Christmas song. All I want for Christmas is new chords. I guess that's... I got some things for you, Billy, just off the top of my head. How many Super Bowls did Ron Wolf win?
One.
How many, Ted?
One.
Yeah. So all these people that wanted, didn't like Ted because he was nothing compared to Ron Wolf, better start looking at those draft records. And speaking of drafts, all these people have been bashing the hell out of Goody all year for this horrible draft. Doesn't look so bad now, does it? Christian Watson is, if we are seeing what we're seeing, definitely my kid has shown well. Amari Curry's gotten on the field. When the defensive beast, Gary, went down, Ingabarki, I think his name is, he's showing. Yeah. I mean, that draft's starting to look pretty good. Zach Combs stepped right in at left tackle. Not a whole lot of problems going on there. And we haven't even seen some of the other kids off of it. So get off of Goody's back, folks, because I think the guy knows what he's doing. He's got the most difficult situation in football right now because you've got a situation that, as you have said over and over and over and over, started again, is when Rodgers had the Brett Favre syndrome and goes, I don't know if I want to play. I don't know if I'm gonna. And that whole blender ended up in that ridiculous contract. The only problem I have now when you say, okay, this is cutter fish bait with Jordan Love. The kid's going to be 26 years old next year, I believe. I don't think he's a young kid anymore. Mm-hmm. And when you get to that level in the NFL, you better make a decision on him. What have you got? Are you going to put him out there, get him on the field, see what the other clubs can do? As far as Jimmy Leonard, you got to be kidding me. I mean, seriously, anybody that knows football across the country, league-wide, and say he's a brilliant defensive mind. Does that translate to the NFL? Hey, do we know? I don't know. Pete Carroll was a heck of a defensive coordinator. Oh, that's right. He got fired a bunch of times and was a bad head coach, and now he's in Seattle doing miracles. It's this mentality of what? Oh, look at that. Look at that. Comparing what Jimmy Leonard had to go up against, like you said, against Ohio State, Michigan, is a joke. Because he's taking kids off the street, some kids like him that just want to play football. The one thing that kind of bugs me and always bugged me, even when I did what you're doing for a living, is this rose-colored glasses thing. And oh my gosh, every free agent wants to come to Green Bay. No, they don't. Every great player wants to come to the Badgers because we build offensive line. No, they don't. But they work very hard at what they're doing. Have they made mistakes? You bet they have. But I think Jimmy, who's the defensive coordinator right now in Minnesota? Is that Ed Donatel by any chance?
Yes.
Yeah. Where was he? Oh, I believe he was in Green Bay, wasn't he?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like this flavor of the month crap. They saw Zimmer get fired, and they're like, oh, he's a mean, tough, Lombardi type. We'll bring him in. He got fired because he couldn't communicate. He couldn't get along. This is a different type of football. Like you said, it's nickel most of the time anyway. And
I will say this, though. You bring up Ed Donatel. That's not the best example because there's a lot of people feel that they have more talent on that team than what they're showing, and their scoring per game is terrible. Their defense is in lower third when it comes to that, and a lot of people want to see Ed Donatel fired over there in Minnesota. They feel they're better than what they are, but yeah, you're right.
Yeah, he got fired in Green Bay. I think he was in Denver, if I remember right, too. It's just this constant looking at. I think what I'm seeing, Bill, and hearing more than anything else is there's too many people that are taking all the things they say from either the social media or the sports talk, not necessarily the local sports talks like you, because you know your crap. But you get these national guys.
Mm-hmm.
That's all they listen to. Listen to guys like Bill. Listen to, and Ben had a great point when he said that.
Mm-hmm.
Those are level 3, maybe level 4s against level 5s. I mean, I worked radio in Ohio. I couldn't believe that Ohio State program. It's like a football factory.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And the money. I mean, I appreciate the phone call. I got to run, but it's drastically different monetarily at Ohio State than it is at, I'd say, 95, 97% of the programs in the country. It's just a different animal. You go the 300-mile radius, you go 200 miles outside of Columbus, Ohio. I mean, it's still a big deal, but inside that 200-mile radius, it's a factory of money and machine and care and live and breathe and eat and sleep and die for that program. And that's just what it is. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. Hit us up. Feel free. Good stuff over there too, by the way. Certainly appreciate that.
Don't listen to me, for the record.
No,
I don't want this notion out there.
Yeah, you make what you make good points.
No, once in a few weeks. Yeah.
Well, the one thing I will say, you go back to when Goody took over in 2018, January in 2018, I believe is when he took over. But his first draft was 2018. Between 2018 and 2019, he's got 4 players on this team out of that draft. That's not good. That's not good. 2020, obviously, you still have Jordan Love, DeGuara, but he's not really kind of become the Swiss Army knife you wanted him to be. There's A.J. Dillon.
He's my breakout candidate next year, by the way.
Okay. Well, I certainly hope so. John Runyon's still here. Jake Hanson's still here. But you're looking, you've got Amari Rodgers gone out of 2021 already. You still have Stokes, Josh Myers, TJ Slayton, Shamar Jean-Charles, but nobody out of that is really setting the world on fire. I like Isaiah McDuffie. I just don't know what he's going to end up being. But the first 2 drafts, you thought you had talent and you got 4 guys left. I mean, it's not even like 4 guys are starters and you got other guys to fill the bill. You only have 4 guys left out of those 2 drafts. That's not good. The guys you do have been solid at the top of the order, but that's not good as far as the overall draft and sustainability. You can't continually fill a team that way. But he's been good with picking up free agents. He's been good with working contracts and such. So give him credit in that realm. 877-867-1670. Find us. Hang out with us. We certainly appreciate it. And everybody over on the Bud Light live stream, always appreciate you being here. This portion of the program being brought to you by good friends over there, Great Lakes Dragaway. Don't forget, Great Lakes Dragaway has gift cards for the 2023 drag racing season. So get them right now for the car lover and speed lover in your life. That's GreatLakesDragaway.com in Union Grove, Wisconsin.
This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin SportsZone Radio Network.
Gifts. We got to get gifts. The soup makers, the grillers, the kids, the breakfast connoisseurs, even the pets in our lives. Wait, don't panic. Go to ShowsyFamilyBeef.com. That's ShowsyFamilyBeef.com.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Good to have you. Welcome back. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. By the way, the Bills' star linebacker, Von Miller, out for the season. ACL, he's done and having surgery. You've got Jimmy Garoppolo, by the way. They say he's got a shot at coming back in 7 to 8 weeks. So that would mean that, down the stretch of the postseason, he might be able to come back. So they're kind of hoping that he's going to be able to do that. But, I think it's kind of a long shot at this point. And as Baker Mayfield goes, he's been claimed by the Rams. I think we all know that. The other news on Garoppolo, by the way, he avoided the Lease Frank injury. It wasn't that bone. So, but they say he can come back from it. So just a little bit of news coming out of the NFL.
Probably tells you enough about Baker that the Niners are in on Brock Purdy and didn't put a claim in.
Right?
So
not a claim. It's not even, they didn't even look at the guy.
Apparently he's going to start for the Rams on Thursday, which then would figure he'd start in Green Bay next week. And we saw how that went last year.
Right. By the way, baseball news, the Cardinals are getting Wilson Contreras. According to many reports, the Cardinals are picking up Wilson Contreras. So he's going to be back. So Wilson Contreras is going to be back in the National League Central. It's just going to be with the Cardinals and not the Cubs. Thomas says Leonard to Green Bay. Absolutely yes. Ask Rex Ryan about Leonard's NFL acumen and understanding.
I lost the drop about the foot stuff.
The Craig Rick, who is always negative, says no, and says it all in capital letters too. No, he's proven to be a born loser, which is a completely ignorant and moronic statement, and a traitor for quitting on the Badgers. That's Craig Rick's argument. Craig Rick 2022. You can find him over on Twitter, Badger fans, if you want to. That guy could wake up in the morning on an absolutely picture perfect day and scream at God for making it too perfect. That's Craig Rick has been just a jag for a long time. He must wear sandpaper underwear or something to be that angry all the time. just saying. This is our buddy Dave, who says, I'd like the thought of Jim Leonard being the next defensive coordinator, but let's be honest, you have to make a full search. Don't just lock in on one foreseen guy. I don't understand what you mean by that, but okay. Dave, thank you very much.
What do you think? Listen, I'm a toe expert.
Yeah, there you go. It's Rex Ryan.
I found it.
He's a toe expert. Oh, my goodness.
That was 1 year ago, almost today. The Aaron Rodgers toe fiasco.
Yeah. 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 How about that, huh?
This last year and a half has felt like a decade, frankly.
It really has. The last year, you're right. The last year and a half has felt long. Carl says, no, I don't want to see Jim Leonard become the next defensive coordinator of the Green Bay Packers. I think he's good. I don't think he's great. I think there could be some other guys out there that could possibly have better credentials. I do like the fact that Jim Leonard was tenacious as a player and a student of the game. But if there's somebody better, go after them. We want the best for our team, not just the hometown guy. It seems to be like it's that mix. People look at the results that he's had and blame him for not beating Ohio State. But people look at him and say he's really good. But he's also getting the benefit of the doubt as being the Wisconsinite. They would love to see the Wisconsinite be successful in Green Bay. Others don't want to see him get the job because he's from Wisconsin. And they don't want to see him basically be ridiculed to every defensive coordinator. So it's and really there's not a whole lot of dealing with actually the facts of, is he good or isn't he good? And is he capable of teaching or isn't he capable of teaching? It's that simple. 877-867-1670. Chris says, boy, I can't believe you guys haven't talked at all today about the Badgers win over Maryland last night. Chris, you haven't listened to the entire program. We did discuss it last night. Big win over number 13 Maryland. We did talk about it right out of the chute of the show today. See, that's what happens. If you don't listen to every minute of the program, you miss out. That's on you. That's not on me. Sorry about your luck. And then Josh says, hey, by the way, Contreras did go to the Cardinals. It's a 5-year deal, which, yeah, we talked about. I just don't know if it's written in stone, but it is going to play out that way.
It's been reported by a bunch of people.
Okay. 5-year, what's the money? 5-year, what's the money?
87.5.
87.5 million. There you go. Yeah. And then he goes on to say that Joe Barry is no good. But then again, did we overestimate the defense? A lot of players are underperforming. I start with Savage and work my way backwards. Josh, I don't know. And I've been asked this time and again. I don't know what happened to Savage. I mentioned it earlier today. I said, I liked him when he came into the league because he was a guy that liked to hit. He was a safety that could cover. He was a safety that had a tenacity to him. He was a safety that could come off the edge if you needed him to rush the passer. But for more than anything, he was a guy that liked to hit. I don't know what happened to him. I couldn't tell you. He just got away from it, I guess. I don't know. He's not the same player he was when he got into the league. Now, the question becomes, did he become less impactful because of the injury that he's trying to avoid having that happen again? Has he become less impactful because his talents have regressed or the league has caught up to him? Or has he become less impactful because of the way he's being used schematically by the defensive coordinator? That's the question you ask. And if the last answer is if the last one is the answer, that's the reason Joe Barry would have to go. 877-867-1670. If you want to hit us up, do it. Corey says Savage gets lost a lot. Chuck says if Nathaniel Hackett gets canned by Denver at the end of the season, do you think he might be rehired by Green Bay? I'd love to see him come back. I don't think he's going to come back as a quarterback's coach, though. Would he come back as the offensive coordinator? What do you do with Stenavich? Does Stenavich go back to? You don't usually go back to what you were. Could he come on as could he flip-flop? Could Stenavich be the offensive coordinator and Nathaniel Hackett be the offensive line coach, but it's a 3-4-headed monster in the quarterback room putting things together? There's a lot there. And it certainly appears that they are completely and the question out there with Nathaniel Hackett is it Hackett or is it Russell Wilson? I mean, as much as you want to say it's Nathaniel Hackett, I look at things and go, Russell Wilson looks as if he sucks. He's not liked by the guys, and he's arrogant. He just sucks. 877-867-1670. Find us. Would love to hear from you. Stay tuned. More of the Bill Michaels Show is next.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin SportsZone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 5 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 4 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Coming up tonight, we are going to be live. We are going to be down in Racine, Wisconsin at Angry Brothers Pub, right off of 20 down there. So come on out and say hi. 6 to 8 tonight, brought to you by our friends at Bud Light, the official beer sponsor of the Bill Michaels Sports Talk Network. We're going to be there. Myself, Mike Clemens tonight. Really looking forward to it. It's always good when we get to kind of the round table together. So Mike's going to be there this evening, among others. So it should be fun, among others that we talk to. That is, but it should be fun tonight. Sitting there kind of BSing a little bit regarding the bye week of the Green Bay Packers. 877-867-1670. 877-867-1670. If you want to find us, chat with us, talk with us, whatever it happens to be, bring it. We were and have been all day asking the question, do you want to see Jim Leonard become the next defensive coordinator of the Green Bay Packers? And it's slowed. The voting has slowed down a bit. We're sitting at 575 votes. 73% of you say yes. 27% of you say no. The majority of you that say no don't want him to because you don't want to end up hating on the guy. So, which I find rather funny. But that's where we kind of stand. So if you want to keep chiming in, find me over on Twitter at Bill_Michaels, at Bill_Michaels. And you can find the official Twitter page. And right there at the top, just about at the top, is the poll question. So keep chiming in. Barry Barty says both of them. The defense is underachieved for 12 years now. 3 different defensive coordinators, complete personnel overhaul. The Pack's approach to playing defense has failed. Time for a top-to-bottom cleansing of how this team plays defense. Who has had, this is a good question here, who has had over time a pretty stifling defense? What franchises over time have had a stifling defense? If I was going to say some of the best defensive teams in the league over the last 5 to 10 years, who would they be, Ben?
San Francisco comes to mind first.
They've played pretty well.
Denver as well.
Yes, Denver's played pretty well.
Probably New England, always under Belichick.
Always under Belichick, yep.
Seattle, but that was more the era that was.
That was Legion of Boom years ago, because right now they're third last in the NFL. Third last in yards per game.
Huh. Buffalo, I feel like, is always there. Tennessee as well.
Buffalo's been pretty good.
I don't know how many others.
Tennessee, very fundamental. I would agree with that. But
Chicago.
Yeah. Chicago's had some pretty good defenses, not an offense that lives up to it. You know, it's interesting because we don't mention the team that's had pretty good defenses over time, which has been Pittsburgh, Minnesota for a while had a really staunch defense, and they didn't get it done. New Orleans. My point being is that when you say we haven't had a good defense for 12 years now, 2010, they weren't a punch you in the mouth defense. They were we're going to get takeaways defense. That's how good they were. Okay. So, I mean, you look, the points per game, though, that team was really good. I think the Packers were, as a matter of fact, if I'm not mistaken, the Pittsburgh Steelers were number 1 in the league and the Packers were number 2 in the league that year at points per game given up. At yards per game, I think, if I'm not mistaken, like Green Bay was in the top 5, but Pittsburgh was just damn near number 1 across the board in yards and points and turnovers and all that kind of stuff. They were really, really good. So I cannot remember what that boy. That's a great question. Just trying to think about it. The Packers, the year 2010, the Packers they were a good defense, but I can't remember how many interceptions they had. It was over 20. But they were picking the ball up. They were averaging almost a pick and a half, 2 picks a game. They were that good. They were that good at getting picks. I think they were, God, I can't remember. But they were that good. They got a lot of turnovers, which in essence held down points per game and yards per game. But they were just really good at taking the ball away. But this time, really staunch defense that you just knew was going to make a play. And again, going back to my original point is you very rarely get a 5 years out of a Legion of Boom. You very rarely get, 3 years out of really staunch defensive play. Things change. New faces come in. Some guys go to free agency. Guys get hurt. It changes. But the veracity with which they play under Joe Barry is non-existent. It is very much a reactionary, keep it in front of you defense. I don't know if philosophically speaking, things changed from last year to this year to where Matt LaFleur said, no, we don't want to get burned. We don't want to give up over the top, whatever. But I do know one thing, and an emailer before, somebody over on Twitter before made this point. It's a 100% valid point. This team, this defense, this philosophy of defense has been and will forever be predicated upon the offense being very good. It's get the offense a couple of scores up, and then defensively you pin your ears back. You can take more chances because you have that ability to score at will. This defense, and for those that have witnessed it, to me, seems like it's a defense that's playing not to lose rather than a defense that's playing to be the aggressor. Because you are so worried, because your offense stinks. For whatever reason, it just has not been able to come about. Points per game are down. You're not even averaging over 20 points a game, for God's sakes. Yeah, maybe they are now. I don't know. I don't know with this past weekend what it is the Packers defensively or offensively are doing, but I don't know where they're scoring. 24.3 points per game. 24.3 points per game. So it has come up because for a while they were averaging 18 points a game. So it has come up and it has gotten better, pretty much with the emergence of Christian Watson. But this offense was supposed to give you a score or two better than the opponent throughout the game, so you could pin your ears back and come after them. And you haven't been able to do that on a consistent basis all season long. And they've been coming from behind to win games. So you still don't have that ability to be the aggressor. What you'd love to see is the Packers get a couple of scores up and a defense begin to believe, and then just let Joe Barry say, okay, go get after it, instead of trying to hold everybody in front of you. And it's death by 1,000 cuts, by first down after first down after first down after first down after first down. And then all of a sudden they find themselves in the red zone. They're putting up points. And that's also, I mean, it's pretty much schematically or philosophically speaking the same for every team, but this team specifically. 877-867-1670, which explains, and we've talked about this too, which explains why when this team gets punched in the mouth and goes down, they seem to fold. You know, when you're not the aggressor all the time, you seem to fold. I mean, get after it. The old adage is, if I'm going to go down swinging. Don't go down being passive by any stretch. We got another segment yet to go. Hang in there. A whole lot more of the Bill Michaels Show coming up right after this.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket, this is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin SportsZone Radio Network.
Wisconsin isn't snobby, snooty, or pretentious. It's Midwestern charm at its finest. And that's exactly what Forgotten Fire Winery in Peshtigo is all about. Fun in a bottle without the attitude. You can find their full wine and cider lineup in their tasting room or in liquor and grocery stores throughout the state. The winery is a great place to get away for wine and cider tastings, great live music, and private events all year long. Remember, any time is a great time for Forgotten Fire wines and ciders. Wisconsin wine made from Wisconsin people. One of the worst things that you can hear, you have cancer. The worst is when you hear the words, your child has cancer. When a child is diagnosed with cancer, it changes their world. Sometimes they can't even do things that they really love, like playing soccer, riding a bike, going to prom, attending school. Children with cancer spend a lot of time away from others. Time in the hospital, treatments, tired, nauseous, and they feel isolated. That's where Special Spaces Wisconsin steps in. They provide these children with a special space where they can not only sleep, but they can play, they can heal, they can spend time away from the challenges of their illness. It's a customized bedroom designed just for them. How about a princess castle or a pirate ship or a sports-themed bedroom? They transform that child's existing bedroom into a place that only he or she can imagine. A place for them just to be a kid. This effort is done with teams of dedicated volunteers and sponsors, just like our friends from Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin and all the community partners. If you'd like to find out more or to donate, go to specialspaces.org. That is specialspaces.org.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Now, in Green Bay, here's Mike Clemens.
The Packers are in their bye week. Their next opponent is the Rams on Monday Night Football at Lambeau Field in about a week and a half. The Rams have signed Baker Mayfield. After the quarterback requested his release from the Carolina Panthers, the Rams have placed Matthew Stafford on IR. After it was discovered he has a spinal cord contusion, they say his season is likely over. Aaron Rodgers raised questions on whether the team wants him back next year. Matt LaFleur was asked about if he still wants Rodgers in 2023.
Of course. So you guys know how I feel. Like, I have a hard time looking past the LA Rams right now.
And Packers running back Aaron Jones has been nominated for the Walter Payton NFL Man of the Year Award for his work with the Boys and Girls Clubs of Wisconsin and his Yards for Shoes drive that raises funds for kids' footwear in schools across the state.
Just everything. That's what I do it for. See the smiles on their faces and just to bring joy to them. And, who doesn't like a new pair of shoes?
That's Packers running back Aaron Jones. In Green Bay, I'm Mike Clemens on the Bill Michaels Show.
Good to have you back. Bill Michaels Show. Final segment before we get out of here. Ben, did you happen to read? I meant to make a mention of this earlier today, but did you read the Andrew Luck story on ESPN?
No, I've been meaning to. I think I will today.
It is fascinating. I read it last night, and for those that didn't get a chance to read it, or maybe you're not an inside subscriber or whatever, because it's on ESPN Plus. But the question is, why did Andrew Luck walk away from the game? And he said he lost himself. Basically, it's what it's all about. The writer gives a great description of mundane day-to-day things that he loves to do. His kids, cooking for his kids, cooking for his girlfriend, and all that kind of stuff. And just, he talks about how he lost himself because from the time you come into the NFL, you are expected to be he said that's the reason guys get God complexes, because you're expected to be better than anything. And all you're taught is this is it, the task at hand. You have nothing outside of this room, which is why I think people get aggravated with Aaron Rodgers, because he does have things outside of that room, but fans expect it of you. You should eat it, breathe it, sleep it. It's what you're getting paid millions and millions and millions of dollars to do. And that's what you have to be. And he said even his girlfriend became a public figure. He said she didn't want that. She never wanted that. She just was his girlfriend. But people didn't talk to her as a person. People talked to her as, can you get me a picture or a signed autograph or whatever from Andrew? And he said he just got lost. He lost himself. He said you just begin to silo everybody in your life, because if it's not football and it's not the game and it's not the team and it's not the franchise and it's not the fans, you don't have a life outside of the game that you realize what it is. And he just said he was hurt. He was banged up. His body was breaking down, and he had this overwhelming guilt. He blamed himself for feeling like a failure because of his injuries. He said the relationship between pain and the rational thought got crossed up. He said, he couldn't shut it off. He became really despondent. He said it's because there's so much expectation of you and you feel so guilty because you can't perform to the level you once did because of injury, or you're not out there at all because of injury, and you begin to lose yourself. And he said it was just one day he woke up and said, I just don't want it anymore. I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to feel it anymore. So it's amazing. Some players will say, this is my drive. This is my rush. And everybody else in their life becomes somebody that's along for the ride, if you will. And then there's others that say, it's my job. I want to be the greatest at it. I want to do well, but it's not going to consume who I am, my actual being, my existence. And it's, if you don't get a chance to read it, it's a really fascinating read because he's in a great place, a great state of mind, but he's just like, he doesn't want to seem weak. He's actually feels like he's being stronger by saying the pressure of being Andrew Luck made him leave. It's fascinating. It's a really, really good read. So if you get a chance to, I highly recommend it. Coming up tonight, we are going to be out on the road. We're going to be at Angry Brothers Pub. We're going to be in Racine. Myself and Mike Clemens going to be there. Going to have a good time. So if you're down in the Racine area, come by Angry Brothers Pub tonight. We're going to have a really fun evening. It's the Bill Michaels Huddle. It's brought to you by our friends at Bud Light. So we look forward to talking to you tonight, 6 to 8 on many of these same stations and on the live stream, which is back. Also on many other forums as well. And don't forget, you can find us on Apple iTunes. You can find us on Spotify, Google Podcasts, all that kind of stuff. Watcher, you have a great afternoon, too. Everybody else on the Bud Light live stream and listening to the program, certainly appreciate it. So until we talk again tomorrow, that's going to do